and the 1st and the 10th. Chair will entertain a motion for approval, if no changes.
Broomfield move with it, if we have it, less than 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is to set stipend and authorize reimbursement for the board. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is just kind of re-up of what we've been doing in the past.
Yes, there's no difference, and our statute, our request to move us to $100 today did not get through the legislature.
Well, it's not through the letter.
It got through the legislature and vetoed at the governor's office. Lack of funding. Chair needs a motion.
I move that it be set at $85 per day according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda, I'm gonna move down, because it's probably gonna require us to take a short executive session. It was Hal Booth Smith invoice. The next on the agenda is the new bed space and county jail backup update. Yep, excuse me. I always have to have help. All right, next, I'm gonna move back to board travel expense reimbursement. That's the money that we should receive now for our past meeting. Chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any questions or comments? No questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the new bed space county jail backup update. Director Payne, would you give us an update on the county jail backup right now?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Today's county jail backup total is 1,678. That includes 1,525 males and 153 females. The jurisdictional count for the Division of Correction is 18,522.
Do what? Say it again, please.
The jurisdictional count for Division of Correction is 18,522.
Now, for the new members, that'll be in his board report, wherever one of those 18,000 gentlemen and ladies are. And it's on page 102 if you want to look at it. It'll tell you what every facility and where everybody's at, whether it's county jail backup or whether it's at Aleta, Arkansas State Police. So everyone there is listed. So it's 18,511. I know that's at your report, so how much is it?
18,522 as of today.
Yeah, okay.
You want me to go ahead and read my whole report?
No.
For the count.
He's trying to trick us. All right, tell us, I want you to move down. I know it's put you ahead of the agenda, but I want to go over this jail space you requested.
Yes.
I mean, extra space.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, county jail backup in Arkansas for the Division of Correction on January 25th, 2024 for both male and female inmates is 1,416. and 270 for the 90-day program, for a total of 1,686 inmates.
How many on the 90-day?
It was 270.
Now, this is gonna, I'm gonna stop y'all at times, because we've got two new board members on here, and by the way, congratulate being on the board, Mr. Jones, Mr. Trolette, and, Mr. Trolette has got to, have had the opportunity to vote a couple times, but you're gonna learn a lot before it's over with, but I'm also, at times, I'm gonna stop and kind of give you, some information you know, because it's gonna be new to you.
Yes, sir.
So in our county jail backup, we have ADC and ACC. AC people there on a 90-day program that thank goodness John Phelps helped create. And it saved a lot of beds in ADC. So if you can think of what I'm just saying, you have an inmate there 90 days instead of 6 months. Might get the same results. So it's been very helpful on bed space. So I hate to interrupt you, but I'm gonna do that from time to time now, next few minute meetings where the new board members are on pace with knowing what's here.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes, sir. So we have a total of 1,000, on January 25th, our total was 1,686 inmates. My goal is to provide relief to the county jails that are burdened with inmates that have been sentenced to ADC. I am requesting permission to reopen 124 beds at the reentry center as part of the Max unit in Tucker. To operate the reentry center will require a minimum of 8 CO2s to cover the post. It is my request that we be allowed to open this facility once we have hired the 8 CO2s necessary to cover the post. Below is my plan for the inmate population that will live in this facility, as well as how I plan on backfilling beds that these inmates come out of. What my plan is to move the 80 male work release inmates from the Pine Bluff Reentry Center and the Pine Bluff Unit to the Tucker Reentry Center. The 44 remaining beds will be filled with 1B inmates and work release eligible inmates awaiting to be assigned to the program. This will give us an opportunity to expand the work release program from 80 up to 124 if needed. I'd also like to move 54 female work release inmates from the Hawkins unit to the Pine Bluff Reentry Center. The female work release program was at this location previously, and it is better for the Division of Correction because most of the work release jobs are in Pine Bluff. I will backfill the beds at Hawkins with 54 female inmates from the county jail backup. I will then backfill ADC facilities with the 70 male inmates that are on the county jail backup.
You can segregate them that way?
Well, so I'm gonna take the male inmates and disperse them across the state in male facilities, the 70.
They're not in the same unit.
Do what? No, say it again.
Okay, so,
We're gonna backfill the 54 beds at Hawkins that work release vacated by bringing female inmates from county jail backup. I thought the original plan was to try to eliminate Hawkins, but nothing but male inmates.
yes, sir, but,
So this is changing a little, right?
well, no, sir, not necessarily, because that plan won't come into effect 6 months to a year now,
Yes,
moving into McPherson.
exactly.
Right, for right now, I'd like to move the work release females to Pine Bluff,
How many beds are at Pine Bluff?
54.
That's the maximum number that you can have at that facility in Pine Bluff?
Yes, sir.
So you'll fill it up. There won't be any,
Oh, I'll fill it up. I'll fill that work release up. It's full right now. It's over capacity right now. Work release is. It's over
Okay.
54.
and the females that will be moved there, will there be any female work release left at Hawkins?
No,
So all of the work release will be moved to Pine
Pine
Bluff?
Bluff, yes,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
and this will have a total impact of 124 inmates that will be removed from the county jail backup. I just noted if I can give further assistance concerning this proposal, please don't hesitate to call me.
Right.
Good day.
So these are immediate beds in where you'll be able to get 124 beds out of county jail back up immediately.
Yes, once I get adequate staff,
Yeah.
once I'm able to hire the 8
Right.
staff members, I will be able to open that up. That would impact about 124 total inmates.
Yeah.
Director, my only question would be, and I understand what you're saying, the 8, as soon as you have the 8, and that's the very, very minimum, what if somebody's sick?
We'll have to
You have to deal with it.
do like
All
we
right.
do today. We borrow from wherever.
All right, when you get the 8, you're not gonna get them from Tucker, are you?
No, sir. No, sir. I assure you I'm not getting.
Okay.
These will be new hire
right.
employees.
Or Tucker Max, they don't have that.
Well,
Right.
Tucker
The
especially.
plan is not to take any current CO1s.
Okay.
These are brand new hires.
Well, see, you say CO2.
CO2s.
Yeah, that's gotta come from existing staff somewhere, because you don't hire people.
Yes, sir.
starting out.
We hire them straight in as CO2s. Everywhere other than work releases.
Okay.
Work releases, we hire them in as CO1.
What about your supervisors for that unit? That
Yes,
new
sir.
unit?
Now we'll have to advertise those positions and fill them. Now, they will probably be filled from various facilities.
But not Tucker or Max.
So that's not the goal. We don't want to take from Tucker or Max.
So the bottom line is, time frame, it depends on when you can find 8
That's correct.
people.
Yes, sir.
All right, the other question I have, for a while, we were sending inmates from North Central to East Arkansas to fill in. I don't remember, there's 2 every day or 4 every day. Yeah, I know y'all can remember that.
Yes, sir.
I know I heard about it almost every day. So my question is to you, is there any way to speed this process up by maybe getting some, and then there'll be seasoned officers, anybody from North Central for a 30-day period or whatever?
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to have.
I'll take the belly aching.
You'll take the belly ache and I'll take them.
All right, so my deal is then with this approval, we can move forward, and I got a comment after, if the board approves it, move forward, open these 124 beds. Can you give us an estimate when you think that would be?
What do you think, Strong? About 2 weeks? About 2 weeks.
Any other questions or comments from the director about opening beds at Tucker Reentry?
No, sir, I don't have any question, but I think it makes plenty of sense if you can get some experience with this 8, you got to send 2 of them somewhere.
Right.
I think all of them need some kind of experience to guide them.
Yes, sir. Well, we were gonna do that with the sergeants and the lieutenants, but yes.
You got the jobs.
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, the chair will entertain a motion unless there's nobody else got any questions.
But it's not,
I always look around to make sure everybody got any questions, comments.
we're gonna have to vote to suspend the rules. There's not a.
Well,
On page 123,
There's-
under Director Payne.
I'm sorry?
Page 123, under Director Payne.
I moved this ahead, reading.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm
There
sorry.
is an actual
Okay.
item for
I'm
that,
sorry.
yeah. We
Okay,
could,
thanks for checking me. Although, again, chair will entertain a motion.
I move with the necessary adjustments.
Yes, sir.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
And with the comment that I'd like to follow up with this on where these come from and that we don't hurt. I mean, Tucker's hurt already enough. They don't need to hurt anymore. They're already, 60%?
Yes, sir. Why
Six.
don't I provide a list of names that we hire once we get them ready for the academy? I'll provide a list to the board.
Okay, just keep us informed.
Yes, sir.
Let Ms. Gray know, and she will let the board know.
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right, now we have a motion and a second. And is there any other comments? No other comments? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. All right. Next on the agenda is to increase the 309 population. I thought we had a number there, but say by, I think it's, what's the number now?
336.
336?
Yes, sir. Today we have 301 total. Right now we've got 301 out, the maximum capacity is 336.
I would like to, this is coming from the board, or from the chairman. It's not coming from Mr. Payne and his staff, but I would like to ask the board to change the number from 336 or whatever the number is to 350 even. Be 14 more beds. Is that correct, Mr. Payne?
Yes, sir, that would be 14 more beds.
Yeah, can we fill up?
That's the problem now. We hadn't reached capacity, over a year. So it would be hard to fill.
We keep giving you more inmates.
Yes, sir, they're the wrong type of inmates. Right type of inmates are not coming to us.
Maybe we need to talk to the prosecutors and judges.
Right.
Maybe we ought to give them our list, what's qualified for 311.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, as y'all can see, that's basically a chairman's request. I'm a 309 fan for many different reasons, and I just believe it's essential to keep pushing our staff to find inmates to go to the counties. The counties like the program. The counties get paid $12 a day, isn't it, Dexter?
Yes, sir.
Where we're paying them 40-something if they're on county jail backup. There ought to be some reason where we can look at the recommendations and loosen the recommendations to get these people in the 309 programs. Because I know that there's a lot of people don't see the value to the inmates in the 309 program. There's a lot of other programs we have to do. The 309 people getting to be around good people every day. And you all know it with your domestics. You have an effect on them. And that's all it is. So that's my plea. The board can do what they want to. Ask questions, kill it,
But Chairman, I have no question, but I'd like to make a statement.
okay?
I served, liaison to the 309.
Yeah. I
I know in the last couple of meetings that we should pick up a couple more new sheriffs who got elected. One of them is, I think it's D.C. County, my home county. They will be contacting me, whoever information get killed now. And it's another county, I can't remember what it was, but I think some of you sheriffs would really, enjoy having these 309 because they're cutting their budget and everything. So I get what you and you man can reach out to them and anybody can take a few of them. But the other side of it is 14, to me, 14 is not a big number. In case they need them, it's better to have the space if they need them than not to have the space.
Yes, sir.
That's
I
just
don't,
me.
I don't think the issue is the bed space or the desires for the county. I think the issue with us is finding the proper inmates that we trust to go real.
I understand that.
That's-
You could place them if you had the if you had the inmates.
If I had the type inmates, I push it to 400, but I don't have the type of correct type of inmate. We got a lot of competition for work release, reentry. There's a lot of competition for those type of inmates, and the criteria can't have first-degree murder, capital murder. There's several charges, kidnapping. A lot of the violent charges you can't have, you know. So
And should,
and shouldn't go.
and should.
It shouldn't go. So that's the dilemma we feeling.
And right now, we got 336 right?
We got 301.
301.
We got 301 field right now.
Uh-huh.
The capacity is 336.
36, which give us 35 already.
35 already. That's vacant.
And people need to know, well, these people have victims. We have victim input.
Right.
And if victim says no,
Right.
it's pretty much no.
That happens often.
Yeah. You know, it's, one time, I had a good friend became sheriff, and he was against 309. When he first got there, he tried to deny every one of them, and I went and had a visit with him. And not long about after that visit, he asked for a 309 program. I said, really? After you turned down And basically now he's got a real strong 309 program, loves it, and all I can say is they learn by experience. And I just think we ought to increase the numbers, but try to look at the program, what we can do to make it more likely they succeed getting into the program. I mean, you know, we're full on, pretty much on work release, so tell them they have to be in the 309 first. So many people get picked out of the 309. Go to 309 first, then you can go to, work release. We just need to look at all those options. And we spent enough time on it. Anybody got any questions or comments?
Hi, chime in, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Director Payne, what are some of the issues that you are seeing specifically with 309s that makes it, outside of what you've already stated, that makes it difficult for you guys to kind of get them to meet the criteria to actually be in the program? Obviously, it's a great program, and I think, you know, most folks that know how the counties operate know that 309 program is a great program, but how can you and your team, put them in a position to be successful to complete that, to get into the program and to complete the program?
In order to boost it, we've done some things recently to boost it, to try to boost it. We tried to implement more female inmates into the program. Some of the sheriffs don't want the female inmates, there's 309s. But on the male side, I don't know, we'd have to go back to the drawing board and study it, to try to figure out what's the best way to increase it. I don't know if increasing right now, you can have up to 10 years to go. I don't know if increasing it to 12 years would make it, you know, give us a better selection of, a better pool.
Is it 10 years statute or is it board policy?
That is, I don't know, I didn't look, I think it's statute.
I think it's statute.
I think it's statute.
I think that was added the same time it was added that you could no longer ask for a 309 inmate by name, only by skill.
Yeah.
So we could look at various ways to possibly increase it.
If the board wants more time or give Dexter more time, it'd be fine with me to table it till the next meeting, or unless we can get a motion in a second.
I just say, Mr. Chairman, we got slack for 35.
Right.
So can we just chair it, table this here to the next meeting and see where you are?
Okay?
You mean a motion? and just-
No, I can just, I can say it failed without a motion. We'll come back to it next month, okay? All right, next on the agenda is correctional industries.
Mr. Chairman, I think that was something that I brought up probably 2 or 3 months ago. The question I had was, why was correctional industries moved under shared services when all of the programs are under the Division of Corrections? In my opinion, and I'm just one board member, but in my opinion, correctional industry should be under the Division of Corrections. That's where all the inmates come from. That's where all the programs are. They're run in the Division of Correction. I think that it more suitably should be under the Division of Corrections rather than under Shared Services. Now, I'll yield to discussion, or if any staff has any question or comment about it, but that's just, that's something I wanted brought up, and I want a discussion about it.
Well, I've also had information brought to me that we've delivered furniture, but we still hadn't paid for furniture in different locations. But my biggest problem with it is to move that agency under shared service should have came from the board, not from the secretary. That's not the secretary's prerogative to be able to move that to, now, he wants me, Mr. Cooper to be up here as construction manager over both agencies, I could see that. I just think we ought to move the, construction industry programs back to where they were. Give Eddie Powell a few times and let him come up here and tell us what's going on, or whether he can handle it, or somebody else let us know. But, the fact that it got moved to shared services was not moved with our approval. Simple as that. So, any of y'all got any other comments or remarks about it? Just join in. But anytime you're done, let me know, because I'm gonna call for, motion.
I don't know if I could ask you, don't tighten up. If I could ask you, and this may be more appropriate for Eddie, but how much of the industry program is under law, under code, as opposed to under policy?
I think most of it is under policy. There is some for the creation of the industry program and who we can sell to and who we cannot sell to. But as far as.
That's under code?
That's under code. But as far as which programs we have, how they operate, all of that, I believe, is under policy.
Aren't we limited to a certain margin profit? And by the way, when this was all set up, and if we can go back and get a little bit of history behind this, the industry program is not a money-making deal for the department. It's a job training. It's primarily a job training. If it makes a little money, that's fine. At least if it pays its way, it's fine. But it's not. It was never set up to be a cash cow for the Department of Correction. It was set up in order to train inmates to do to gain skills that's going to help them when they get out. Now, Eddie, aren't we limited on profit that we can get from the industry program? Sit down up there so you can get on the mic, get in the hot seat. That seat is hot now.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Where I am. Don't ever stop them.
Yes, sir, we have a policy.
Is it board policy or is it code?
It's board policy that sets our parameters for the amount of profit we can make every year, who we can sell to, and limits it to tax-supported agencies and that sort of thing. We can't sell to Free World, and we can only make between 3 and 11% profit every year.
And a lot of that is because that we're not in the business to compete with private enterprise. Is that not? Am I correct in that?
Well, when you read the policy, that you get that in the gist of it, that it's trying to make it where it's not a competition thing against Free World. And I've heard that several times in my past, working there and talking to people, that the mission statement, the very mission of industry, was to be a program for DOC, to put inmates to work, teach them not only hard skills where they're learning how to, everything from sewing to welding, but they're also learning soft skills where a lot of these people come to prison, they don't even know to get up and go to work. They don't know how, they've never done it. And this is teaching them the soft skills of how to get up, go to work, be on leave, when to ask off. The program is a complete program as far as teaching people how to be productive. Maybe not in society because they're not in society, but one of the reasons that they weren't productive is because they didn't get up and go to work and do the right thing. And industry offers them that opportunity to learn that skill so that when they get out, they'll have that skill, not only the hard skill, but the soft skill also.
Do you know how many inmates you have working in the industry program? A round figure?
Yeah, yes, sir. Post-COVID, it's not come back to the point where it was prior COVID, but we're running about 450 inmates right now.
And these are all behind the fences, so that you have a little bit more liberty to choose some inmates that may have some crimes that maybe couldn't go to the 309 program.
Yes, sir. They're all inside secured fences, and now we do have 1As. We have a 1A that's allotted to us that helps go out and install our pads and stuff like that. And we have probably between 8 and 12 on a daily basis that come to the warehouse to help deliver the furniture and set up all the furniture. They're all also 1As. But other than that, our workforce in all of industry is to a classification where they're behind the fence. Yes, sir.
And all of the programs are in the Division of Corrections.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
None
Every
in
one of our-
ACC,
Okay, I'm sorry.
none in ACC.
No, sir. All of them are in DOC facilities, under DOC warden superintendents.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No other questions, comments? The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the industry program be placed under the Division of Corrections, and I'll leave it to the director to figure out who he reports to and how he responds, but it'll basically be under you, Director Payne. That's my motion.
Good, second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. So, Mr. Powell, you need to be working with Director Payne.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Cooper does not supervise you now, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Cooper, you understand the vote of the board?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right.
The thing you don't want that to be.
He may buy you a Coke after all this stuff.
You're next.
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Okay.
You have some questions regarding some positions received in late October of 2023?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
There you go, right here. Page 26, 27 for the board's information. Now, these are positions that the Secretary's office asked for the legislature approve. At the same time, y'all turned in how many is there that you asked for? 7 of them?
We asked for six positions, and we cross-graded one position, so 7 total, yes, sir.
Okay, how many did you turn in?
We turned in 12 positions.
Nicholas, can you tell? Let me kind of go over at least one of them. And says DOC Policy Administrator. Now, when you have to be, understand the acronyms when you do this thing. The ADC, ACC. DOC now used to be Department of Corrections, and now, of course, it's Department of Corrections, but it's basically the Secretarial's office. So, where you want a new policy administrator, can you tell us why?
The rationale was because often policies are duplicated and developed in multiple different ways. The idea was rooted in streamlining the policy development process and identifying the simplest way for staff and the public to access and understand the relevant policies. As you know, administrative rules require legislative review, and the point with this was really, we wanted someone with a lot of operational knowledge to be able to promote into this position. That way, when the handoff is between the policy writers and management or internal policy review, a lot of the back and forth discussion could be done by a subject matter expert who is in the trenches with the policy development.
Okay? In the past, if you need to point to Elizabeth or to Dexter, who used to do the policy?
We would have policy writers that would bring in subject matter experts and meet on a continual basis to develop the policy. And once they receive the draft to a certain level, they would send that out to internal policy comment reviews, which is often management team members for review on policies.
Before there was a secretary of office, how did you do policies?
Pretty much like Mr. Stewart is saying, policy coordinator would draft it, give it to the policy review committee. They would give their input on policy, be sent to the management team, then sent to me for signature.
Okay, so this policy administrator is whoever that be, him or a she, would she have a staff?
Yes, sir. Currently, there are 3 or 4 staff members in that section. They would have 3 or 4 direct reports.
That work for DOC or ADC or ACC?
They work for the policy administrator, and this person would develop policy for the entire agency.
Okay, you didn't miss my question. You said they're there now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that person, this policy administrator, would only be overseeing those people and have the final say and send the policies back to the agencies to redo, correct?
Correct.
Dinah, didn't you used to do most policies?
Well, I did, I didn't write the most of them. I oversaw them as a deputy director at Department of Correction, and then as assistant director at Department of Correction, then as a deputy director at Community Correction. And the way it worked then was there was one employee, and if you got lucky, you might have an extra help for a while too, who worked with subject matter experts to draft policy.
Okay,
And then that went to the policy committee, and then that came to me again, and then it went to the director. And the director signed off, or if for some reason the director had problems, then you'd go fix those and take them back to the director. But that's how it worked.
all right. Now, any of y'all join in, but I've been sick, but as you can see, my mouth's not sick. Right? I'm gonna ask the questions. So, I'm well enough there. I'm still confused on that, why we need this position. Mr. Stewart, I called you and told you to not, or had Sherry call you, whichever one be, to not fill these positions till the board has time to understand. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, so have you filled any of those positions?
Before you called, yes, sir, we filled the chief procurement officer in December of 2023.
And by the way, I don't know who that was, but I'm not, each one of these positions may not be not a bad idea. In fact, that's one of the ones that I don't know that is not a good idea. So it's lucky it's the good idea that ended up getting hired. Is she here now? Or he, I should say.
Yes, sir. Ms. Bailey is right here.
Good.
She has a wealth of knowledge
What?
regarding procurement.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here. But my concern when I see the list, and I have to rely on Dexter a lot in this, ADC grievance coordinator, ADC grievance coordinator, ADC grievance coordinator, ADC grievance coordinator. We turn back 4 of those people. I don't see any of these new positions is supposed to cover those 4 turned back positions.
No, sir. For those, we upgraded the grievance staff back in April of 2023, and they went into a pool that, I don't know if Director Payne had immediate intention to use, but there was no immediate intention then to use the positions because we upgraded all the grievance staff. in April of '23.
I don't know if I had any, I don't know, I wasn't a part of that conversation.
Again, that's the problem over here. That man is losing 4 places, and he don't know. Now, y'all gotta make up your mind what team you're on. Plain and simple. And I don't like to put any of y'all in a position. These 4 people are positions we turned in. I want to know where and what they were doing. And does that man still need them?
They were doing inmate grievances. The positions were upgraded to a DOC grievance coordinator and assistant grievance coordinators. We had an issue with medical grievances being higher grades than inmate grievances, and Director Payne wanted to equalize the pay because of the workloads. And so we upgraded and did not fill these positions that you see listed.
Do you see any of these positions, Dexter, that you'd still like to keep? And have you got adequate enough grievance people on your side?
On the grievances, right now, we're pretty good on the grievance positions. The only ones on this list I would probably want to keep is my program eligibility coordinator, because that was the person that coordinated our programs. We're trying.
That used to be Bob Parker, right?
No, sir, that was Ardella Beard.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Adele?
What about on the DCC side? Is there, I mean, we talked about programs, and we've talked about the importance of programming and the type of programming we should have, and we've X'd out a program person on the ADC side. Is there one on the ACC side as well?
Yes, sir. The treatment administrator, the grade 11, was our assistant director over treatment programs for the division.
Is that person needed?
Yes.
But for salary savings purposes, I'm not sure you would have been able to fill that position, right?
Were you given the opportunity to fill that position?
No, it was not.
Let me say this to you. I see sometimes what you're all trying to do is bring more stuff into shared services. Where it can save money, I understand it. But program specialist for ADC is not going to have to see over the same programs ACC's got. They're 2 different entities. They're 2 different, they treat, totally 2 different type of inmates they're working with. So programs or the whole success of this has to be not dollars and cents, but outcomes. Outcomes is what matter. So, I mean, we can all sit here and tell all the kind of stories you want to. I know I've got tons of them. Some of our programs have been unbelievably good and successful. And the 309's one of them. And it gets pushed back all the time, but it's not. You spend 5 years at a county jail, and their grandbaby gets sick, one of them, and the sheriff's office has a festival to raise money for that grandbaby when he's almost terminally ill. Those inmates don't forget it. And there's the ones that don't come back. So I don't know how to look at this list anymore, whether we need for Nicholas just to keep them on hold until I select. See, that's the problem anymore. I could select a 3-man panel. I can't say that. Used to I could say that because we had a female on the deal. But a panel to meet with Nicholas where he can understand it, or come to us on every. But I don't want to meet with just with him. I want the directors to have some say-so in this right here.
Mr. Chairman, if I could say also, what I see is it looks like, and I could be convinced otherwise, but it looks like that there is an effort to move decision-making power from where it's most effective, and that's at the unit level, the warden level, at the sergeant level, and move that decision-making power up to an ivory tower somewhere that makes decisions for the rest of the department. I frankly think that the best decision-making can be had at the lowest level possible. The programs, the person here in this office may not know what needs to be the programs that need to be administered out in the ACC units or in the Department of Correction unit. I doubt very seriously that those people spend a lot of time on the Department of Correction units, and they know what's going on. It frustrates me to see. It seems like the decision making being sucked up to an ivory tower somewhere, and I'm not for that.
Y'all have
That's all.
any guys,
That's all.
because all the chair can say is, this just needs to be tabled. No more hiring of any position unless you see somebody that both people agree with, both directors and Nicholas and the secretary. If we can't have a unified, yes, would like to move forward with this position, then I think we can have a telephone meeting after they, go ahead, Nicholas.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we have not advertised any of the other positions. We did advertise the policy administrator, received over 30 applications with a wide range of experience, internal experience and external experience, from officers with over 10 years of experience in community supervision, assistant managers, and deputy wardens. But absolutely, we'll follow whatever you all tell us to do.
Okay, here's what I'd like to do. Table it till Nicholas meets with the directors. They come out which and when they think what positions might be valuable to the agency as a whole. And then at that time, Nicholas, you call me and I'll probably schedule you to go see each board member where we don't have to spend an hour on something, shouldn't take that long. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. That good with the board? Okay, that's good with the board. We're down to what we were gonna normally be at compliance. We skipped the elephant in the room, so we're gonna go into I need a motion to go into executive session, and we want to talk to Mr. Brown. So, Chair will entertain a motion. If we need to change the rules, suspend the rules, or we can get it on the agenda and then go, that's fine. Whichever one y'all want to do. Do I need to do that, Mark?
Need to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules.
I'd move to suspend the rules to go to executive session, discuss personnel matter.
All right, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and go into executive session. All those in favor say aye. All no, say nay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is to vote to go into executive session with Mr. Chad Brown. Entertain a motion.
Not so much.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. I suggest that while we're out, we're gonna leave the big room, give you all a chance to have some snacks and stuff. We'll be back short as possible. Sometimes we've been in there 30 minutes, sometimes we've been meeting. It always says that we have to vote on why we're up there or any changes. We're gonna hold that for a moment because we do have some comments to make. And, the 800-pound gorilla in the room right seems to be right now is the bill from Hall at Booth Smith. And that was over our lawsuit for the, in front of Judge James. And so what we want to do after talking to Mr. Brown, y'all can say, well, we were very careful to say on point what we wanted to know from Mr. Brown. It didn't violate FOI. But what we are, and he has some concerns which can stand on its own. Y'all can ask for his memo from the press, what his concerns are about paying the Hall Booth firm. To shorten our conversation, I want any member wants to say differently that what we think needs to happen is I appoint somebody to work with Chad, not to get find a way to pay this bill. We feel strongly as a board that we did it right. We have legal standing and Judge James's court that we can do it. We also feel we understand what information Chad gave us in his memo. Does anybody have any version other than that they want to make a comment on? Well, Lee, don't be bashful. You're Norman, huh?
Well, my only comments would be that, you know, previously the board knew to hire outside counsel, and we did that under Arkansas Code Section 2516-711, which has to do with when a constitutional officer has a dispute with the Attorney General. We identified that we did have a conflict there due to the interpretation of several laws that apply to the board, and which is why we hired Mr. Metazodian. And the statute goes on to say that the special counsel that is hired by us, by the board, shall receive a reasonable compensation for his or her services. That's pretty well sums it up, where we are.
So at this juncture, we have a couple of days maybe to check the proper way to go through this and move it forward. Or we can vote to pay the bill and then let Chad and Mr. Hudson move forward on getting it paid through legislative audit or procurement, whatever they gotta do.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
in effect, I mean, we entered into a contract with Mr. Metazodian.
Exactly.
By which we are obligated contractually to pay him for his services.
Correct.
So the board has already voted on this and taken that action.
I think that right now, we are to have another vote, confirm that we want Mr. Alexander bill paid. And you find a way to either get it paid and we answer all the questions later. And you know that's one way. And the other way is spend maybe a few days trying to do it. I know you had a couple of ideas, and however you want to do it. But I don't get to make motions, but I'd like to confirm that we owe the bill. The reason I say that is if he had, by some small chance, go to Small Claims Commission, we voted on it twice. This man needs to be paid. He worked, he did the work, he did it to our satisfactory. We believe legally standing, we can pay the bill out of professional services. So with that said, again, I have a comment after the vote, but if, I don't make motions. So Chair will entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we reaffirm, the board reaffirms its contract with the Hall Booth Law Firm, and that we will pay bills submitted, fee statements, upon review, submitted by the firm. And this is an ongoing representation, so we understand there may be additional legal fees that are requested and submitted to us.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Well, I second what Chairman, I do want to say it with this second. We voted, the board voted for a contract, and I think we need to be a man, but that time, man or woman hour.
Yeah.
But we're here now, we need to make sure we do what is necessary to get him paid, because I feel comfortable with him in the courtroom and the things he's done. And the third thing is, my mom is a great, and she always told me, hey,
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Chad, are there any options that you think can I ask for his thoughts on this? Sir?
I know where you're going. I can't tell a board member not to ask the question. So you go right ahead.
All right. Chad, do you have any thoughts on this? That's my question.
I don't disagree that the bill is owed, it needs to be paid. I agree with that. As the Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Corrections, I just want to make sure that we follow the procurement law. And if we need to go back and fix the way that the contract was established, then that would be my recommendation. The process that we would use to do that is we would request, we would submit a letter to the review subcommittee of the Arkansas Legislative Council to ratify the contract, because this will go over the procurement thresholds within procurement law. That would be my recommendation as a Chief Financial Officer of the Department of Corrections.
Chad, just to assure you, we do too want to make sure that we follow all the procurement laws and necessary. And, you know, this situation is a little different than other situations, and not to muddy the water, but anyway.
Well, everybody forgets, we didn't, at the time, we didn't have a choice. We didn't have the time to wait.
It was an emergency action.
It was an emergency action, and it needs to be paid, and we'll find a way to do it on a very timely basis. With that said, I got a motion, and I got a second. Any other comments or questions? No other comments or questions?
Won't take me but a minute. I do want whatever take place on this boat be done decent and in order. I want you to break no laws. I want you to do it right. Can't do it, let us know.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think what we're asking from Chad, I asked him that this morning, is not, we understand all your concerns. All we need to ask from you, I'll work to get it paid. That's what we need from him. All right, let's say it again. I have a motion and a second with the chair. Any other questions or comments? And if no other questions or comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Now, let's get that 800-pound grill out of there. Next, Mark Kohler on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. If you will turn to page 36 in your packet, my most recent case is there for your review. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer that. Basically, this was a case involving religious rights of an inmate that was removed as a prayer leader from the Islamic service. ADC allows certain inmates to act as prayer leaders. They can read from the Koran, and they can perform the prayer, but they cannot make a sermon. Okay, and that was what they call a khutbah. And And in this particular case, the inmate was disciplined because he did launch into a sermon after doing the prayer. And that violated one of the religious services policies. Inmate filed suit, and of course, this is not the first lawsuit or experience ADC has had with this type of litigation. Back in 1987, first big consent decree we had involving Islamic services, where the ADC installed Muslim chaplains and free world volunteers to aid in their services. Other litigation resulted a little more recently. The Shabazz case comes to mind, went to the 8th Circuit, where the ADC, if there was not a chaplain or somebody to do that sermon, that they could do a recording and play that for the inmate for the sermon part of that service. There have also been other issues involving these type of services with, we've had some inmates going after their own agenda and creating tension and problems within the unit. With that background, the court reviewed all of that. They based their analysis on Turner v. Safley, an old U.S. Supreme Court case. And they looked for a rational connection between the policy of not allowing ADC inmates to give the khutbah or the sermon, and they said there was one, that doing so would place an inmate in a position of religious leadership. And also there was an available alternative, which was the pre-recorded message. The court also said that when looking at possible accommodations, that the one that came to mind is having an inmate give an approved sermon. And they said that still had the same problem with placing an inmate in a position of religious leadership that may have a ripple effect amongst the other inmates. And with all that said, and when they looked at it from a qualified immunity standpoint, they said certainly the chaplain or the defendants in this case had no idea that, following that policy would have violated anyone's constitutional rights. So they dismissed the case on qualified immunity.
I want everybody to knows the name.
Well,
That's an old case.
no, that was the inmate's name, last name.
You're kidding me.
Right.
I seen that and I thought, well, now who was the defendant? Huh?
Frieder. That was the
So it
chaplain.
wasn't,
The inmate's last name was Norris.
I first noticed that and I thought, my gosh, you'd think Norris is out of these by now, but
He still gets a few.
I read it, but now, I guess who did he sue?
Sued the chaplain and
Oh, that's why I didn't notice. Okay, all right.
if you will turn with me to the attachments after page 37, I've got a graph showing last year's litigation from our inmate population, and you'll see that the big five there are conditions of confinement cases, which is when the inmate's suing any type of condition, whether it's too hot, too cold, or about the food, or sanitation, or overcrowding, or anything of that nature. That's a conditions of confinement case, and that was had 27 of those. Also, we usually get a lot of use of force cases where they're alleging excessive force, medical care cases, and that also includes dental and mental health. Failure to protect, usually when we have inmate assaults where one inmate may have assaulted another inmate. Usually the victim files a lawsuit against an officer alleging that they should have done more or acted sooner to stop that. Retaliation cases where the inmate is alleging that I was retaliated because I used one of my grievance process or filed too many lawsuits, and that was my constitutional right, and they retaliated against me for that. So these are the areas that we've seen, and it's very similar. If you turn on the next page to what we had previous year in 2022, biggest difference would be that we had more medical cases this year. That puts it more in line with what we typically see. 2022 was kind of an outlier. We didn't have as many. We had a lot of mail publications, postal type mail and publications cases in 2022. Kind of fell off the map last year. And those are the type of cases where the inmate is trying to get a publication or a magazine or something into the unit that doesn't meet the standards and is rejected. So if you turn to the next page, you'll see the what we've had over the years from 2008 to 2023. And you'll see that last year's number of 94 lawsuits is it's not a, I don't know that I'd call it a historic low, because I'm not going all the way back to the late 60s, early 70s when inmates started filing lawsuits, but it's certainly in recent memory a low for us. And you've also, on the next page, you have to take into account that our inmate population now is so much more than it was. When you go back to the early days in the 70s, there may have been 300 lawsuits a year or more, but our inmate population was less. And when you look at our population now at 18,510 is what we used for last year, you can see that per 1,000 inmates, the ratio has dropped to the lowest ever. And when you look at that chart, PLRA stands for the Prison Litigation Reform Act. And that was passed in 1996. And you can see how, the trend line was steadily down from that point and continues. So all of that is...
Does that have to do with filing frivolous lawsuits? Is that...
One of the things Prison Litigation Reform Act did was if an inmate files 3 frivolous or malicious lawsuits, then the next time they file a lawsuit, they have to pay the full filing fee up front, which is running over $400 now. So that put a lot of people out of business.
Well, you had one this time where you didn't get it paid enough.
That was the previous month. I
Yeah,
did put
yeah.
that example in there to kind of
He had
illustrate.
3 strikes, and he couldn't come up with his filing fee, so he lost.
Yep, and that happens every week.
Yeah. That concludes your report.
If there's no further questions,
Is there any questions or comments from Mike Colbert? No other questions or comments? Sure, you put this on my,
I'm handing them out. Lindsay brought that
is that?
to go along with
People
New Bed's
work
report.
for us?
Yes.
Where they come from,
Yes.
they work.
Yes, sir.
Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Some out of state, aren't they? You didn't put Mississippi in there.
No, they just plotted the ones that were in the state of Arkansas, so this was. part of
Texas, Mississippi, Oklahoma,
it. None of those were included,
we
just
are
within
right.
the 4 corners of the state.
All right, not to take, bust your balloon, do you have anything in your report, Secretary's office, that you want to point out to us before I move on?
No, sir, not unless you guys have questions about anything.
Any other questions about their report? No other questions, their report. We're moving on to, Chad's next on the agenda, I think. No, you had a policy update, Nancy.
Yes, sir.
You
I thought you
kinda-
just meant the secretary's report.
Yeah. Now, here's the deal. Go ahead, with your policy.
Yes, sir. So the main thing I wanted to cover with you all is the administrative rules that we have pending. As you may recall, during the session, we worked with some county sheriffs to update the law related to county jail reimbursement for medical expenses and then payment back to the date of sentencing. The AR that we have in existence needs to be amended to reflect current practices. It hadn't been updated since 2015, so it needed to be updated before now. So it's a little bit more, there's a little more than just some simple tweaks to get us in line with what the law is. It's very close to ready. The process as it stands now, we have to send everything over to the governor's policy and rules expert to review. And so it's been over for a preliminary review. I've had some conversations with them, and I'm confident that that one will be to you all in front of the next board, in the next board meeting for approval.
Okay.
Related to the PROTECT Act, there are 2 administrative rules that are gonna have to be promulgated by the secretary. I have drafts of those before everything happened towards the end of the year. I had presented those to the secretary, but for obvious reasons, those have kind of been on a hold since the end of December. There are the topics of those two, inspections of female inmates and visitation for minor children. And I have all these code provisions if you guys want me to share them with Sherry.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah, can you share all the documents with Sherry, where she can get them to us, or we can start reading them? When do we have to act on it?
So those two ARs, they were supposed to be in place by the beginning of 2024. So by probably midsummer, we'll have to start reporting to the legislature via that Act 595 report that's on the status of rules, why they are not in place yet.
Okay.
So those two are the only two at this juncture that we are late on, if you will.
Lindsay,
Yes, sir.
how many policies do you have on your desk back there that you have not enacted on right now?
Well, that's after the ARs. Can you want me to go ahead and skip to the policies now?
Let's just say ARs and then ADs, or whatever policy.
So these two ARs that are in a holding pattern, the county jail reimbursement AR that's in a holding pattern, and then 1, 2, 3.
Is the county jail AR, is that holding up the counties to get their money?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It is not. Current practices were already changed. We just have to get the administrative rule updated to reflect that.
See, I don't quite understand that, because we're just having a conversation how Bill can't be paid because it doesn't fit everything. But by the time you say, the bills are being paid without the AR being approved.
I think because
Yep.
it's in law. We're following the letter of the law, and we're just updating our policies to reflect that, I think would be my argument. And I'm happy to punt to legal to help me with this explanation.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Okay, I would believe that, then what we need to do is you get the paperwork to us where we can review it. That is something we can do by telephone to get it done. All members agree? Agree on this side? Agree on the right? Agree on the left? All right.
Yes,
Get
sir.
it, get any AR that you need done and finished.
Okay.
Get it to us. We will share it. We'll set a phone vote. And then if they're, please, all the members to review it. Call Lindsay or call Sherry. If there's any changes that you want, then I'd like to have you in that circle.
Yes, sir.
Any policies that you see that you may want changed, please do so.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. And then for the rest of the Protect Act, and these do not have, they have a 1/1/25 effective date, so we've got a little time on those. The existing meritorious good time AR is gonna have to have an end date to cover all of the offenses up to that date, and then the earned release credits
Okay.
administrative rule.
Now,
will
that's a
take-
little bit more detailed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Those, and I don't have drafts of those yet. So the meritorious, I'm
Who's
sorry.
writing the drafts?
So that was what I wanted to ask you all about. So traditionally, whenever I've been in this position, Secretary's office has worked. Gotcha. Are we pointing at Dinah?
I have just volunteered, Dinah.
Okay.
To do what?
Don't need to know.
Say yes, sir.
Yes, sir, I'll be happy to.
Okay. Okay. Then I will get those. So there's an earned release credit committee that is required to be passed by the board, and then earned release credits. So the process for applying the earned release credits.
Okay. Get with her and let's get
Got it.
that done. Is that the only two that are ARs that are pressing?
And then, so the Emergency Powers Act, we have 2 rules that are on topic for that. We'll have to amend those to account for those offenses that are ineligible for earned release credits, as well as those that have to serve the minimum time before they're eligible for earned release credits.
Okay.
And then the other one that we just recently identified that I'm meeting with Deputy Director Bowers out about this week. The community corrections eligibility rule has not been updated, again, like the administrative rule on county jail reimbursement since 2015 with legislative changes. Yes, sir.
All right. How did we turn, there's been some changes somewhere in the voting policy, because, for example, has domestic violence been cut out, or possession of, there's been some change since 2015 that this board has approved, allowing more people in, or some statute.
I don't have the AR in front of me.
I don't have that with me either, Mr. Chairman, but there has been some changes. This reviewing process, we are going to get that done quickly. I've already been in contact with the Sentencing Commission office to work on the changes to the target offenses as well.
I had a little scribbled note sheet on this. I think what I said about the county jail backup reimbursement is the same thing that happened. The changes were made in law and somehow they did not get updated in policy.
And that concerns me that we didn't, why we did not have our ARs done.
I don't know.
Okay. I never knew of that happening before.
That predates me, so
I
that.
understand.
I don't know.
I don't like, I can't say nothing predates me. So I have to take the blunt of it. Somebody here, including me, didn't get the job done, okay? So the one policy that I'm trying to get to too is the policy of the seminary. We have, if that was a basketball, we wore it out. I want it out by Friday. If you see anything Dexter Payne,
Yes, sir.
you're gonna kind of be like the kids in the classroom, want to take the phone away from them, don't pay attention. I'm telling you right now, that's out Friday, okay?
If you don't have it in your inbox, you should. Mindy and I talked about it yesterday and it was ready to be sent to you for signature.
I do have it, I printed it off, I sent it back to Mindy for some revisions, we had some, just some simple terms wrong, like, he had 4, members on that committee.
Right.
But there's really 5, so I sort of changed it to 5, and just small stuff, but she's changed it, I do have it, I haven't printed it off again, signed.
This is Wednesday.
It's ready now.
Okay, do you see any
If
reason
you want me
why?
to print it off now, I can go sign it. It's ready now, I've read it.
Okay, well, we may have a break, if you can get it, it'd be lovely. I want it done pronto. So,
That's all the ARs. And I think.
how many ADs you got sitting back there?
So for the Division of Correction that are waiting on a response to me, I've got about 18. There are, and this was sort of, I think, a reason for having a policy administrator. We're in a constant state of revision of policy, and I get that that's part of the business. That's the nature of this department. But I have about 18 for me. There's about 50 administrative directives that are on Dexter's side of the house. ACC, I think, has about 13. 9 are waiting on comment for me. Some are at legal, some have been recommended to combine. Through some conversations that I had with Deputy Director Taylor in a policy meeting a couple of weeks ago, she had expressed the need to have maybe some sort of middle policy that would be applicable to both sides. The only
Okay.
thing we have is the secretarial directive, which.
Any board member want to chime in here, but I'm fixing to give them instruction. You got anything going tomorrow, Dexter?
Not if you don't want me to.
Miss Elizabeth? Miss Taylor, you have anything you got, any meeting you got to be at tomorrow?
No, sir.
Miss Tyler?
My calendar's suddenly clear.
I want you,
Oh, wait.
those people in a policy.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I have to host the Pinnacle Awards.
Oh, yeah, that's tomorrow.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
What about
You gotta
Friday?
be there too.
Friday, well, I know that. Okay,
Friday.
Friday,
Okay.
you all meet, give the board, Sherry, a report on how many sitting, how many's not done, how many of y'all already agreed on this needs to be finalized writing.
Okay.
All right? You are to meet twice a week till you get all of them cleared up.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I say something? It's a side issue, but I want, it kind of sort of fits in here. You talked about an AR for county jail backup.
Yes, sir.
I was at the jail administrators meeting yesterday, and by the way, Melissa and who else was there? Who else presented with you?
Taylor Greenlee, she's our budget analyst.
Okay, they did a wonderful job. They did a wonderful job presenting, and I thought it would be an antagonistic crowd, but actually they realized the hard work that these ladies do, and our staff does, not just these ladies, but our staff does. And they were very kind. But the biggest issue that they had, that I saw, was this deal about getting sentencing orders. And sometimes when they submit a bill for us to pay, and then we say there's not a sentencing order, and then they do some examination and it's been 60 days without a sentencing order. Is there any way that we can get that cleared up so that they can do their job better and we can get reimbursement to the counties quicker?
Yes, sir. So I think long-term, we had talked about you doing some sort of EOMS development so that we could figure out a better way for sentencing orders to get transmitted to us. The problem is that we've got sort of a disjointed judiciary, and that the prosecutors fill the sentencing orders out. They're not always correct. And then the county sheriffs are responsible for transporting, assuming that these orders are correct. So Tawny has been helping, and I'm happy for her to come up here and talk to you if you'd like, to try to streamline that process so we spend less time working on amended orders and getting these things corrected so that when the sheriffs bring their folks to us or submit for reimbursement, everything is done in a faster time frame.
Well, we have a thing in the Department of Correction called ADC All,
Yes.
and I think sometimes the information is sent back to the prosecutor, and it doesn't, maybe it doesn't go to, if we could get an ADC All out to all the county sheriff, the jail administrator, the prosecutor, the judge, so that so that they know that there's a problem. Is there?
Absolutely.
Can we work on that? Because that was really, Melissa, wasn't that kind of the biggest?
Yes, sir, that was the biggest thing. The only other issue was when they come in and sentence to ACC.
Yeah,
and
I didn't understand that.
I'm sorry.
I didn't understand all that. That was all Greek.
When they come in, sentenced to ACC, but they don't qualify for ACC, they're supposed to be transferred over to ADC, and that's taking several months.
Yeah, and that's not the county jail's fault. That's not the jail administrator's fault. I mean, that's above their pay grade, but anyway.
We are working to try to streamline that process as much as possible. Combining the two records departments and getting everybody looking at the same thing, I think has helped. But, communication and continuing to stay on the prosecutors to make sure that they're getting those amendments as necessary, but also taking a look to make sure all the things that we are saying are required and have to be correct actually are required and necessary. So we're looking at all that and trying to improve that.
So I'm just gonna give a crazy deal here. When we have to amend an order, that means they gotta find the judge. Like in Mountain Homes, he don't live in Mountain Homes. And it can't be the other judges that live in Mountain Homes. It has to be the judge, the criminal judge that lives in Harrison. My point in saying that, I know one time a commitment order and, was something wrong with it, so they sent it in to be changed. Judge had already signed the first one. They got the first one done. Go get it, the second one signed by the judge. And they sent it back in, and the lady, instead of putting check mark, missed her, like she should have done. Second time, she put missing. Judge didn't catch it, nobody catched it, and they had to redo it. And she called and asked, can't they just check mark missed her? And I said, no, and she complaining on all typical, whine all you want to. Stuff like that could be helpful. If we could go ahead and change it, it's obvious. The first one had, Mr., it's a male's name. I think sometimes, so she had to redo it 3 times and get a judge to sign it 3 times. So, anyway.
Okay, I'm sorry. Finish that, Brad.
That's all right, that's all right. Now, I think next on the agenda here is, do we need to read, final review and repeal Arkansas 210?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about that, and what that is?
Absolutely. AR 210, titled Relationships and Transactions with Inmates. This was reviewed just this past month at ALC and approved by Legislative Council for review. One of the things that we have been doing as a department is taking a look at all of our ARs. The Bureau is required to do this codification of administrative rules, and it is a very lengthy process. And so we, as part of that, have been doing a review to make sure that all the rules that we have in existence are actually meet the definition of a rule. And that's something else that Governor Sanders issued. She issued a executive order requiring you to submit rules for repeal every time you submit a rule for approval. And so this was one of those that we identified as a statement of internal policy and doesn't meet the definition of an administrative rule. We have secretarial directives and code of ethics provisions that cover all of the things that are in this AR. So it was recommended for repeal.
Dexter, have you looked at this? Can you read it right quick and give us an opinion?
It's on page 53.
53. It looks like we've got more than enough to cover. I don't see any,
I have the conduct policies too highlighted if you'd like to look at them, showing where it's all covered.
I think we got more than enough to cover that. If we don't, it's easy to come up with an AD when we find there's a problem.
You can absolutely amend the ADs.
Yeah.
I think we can do it.
All right. This requires a vote. Is there, after reviewing the, page 53, the, removal of AR 210, Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now, you're gonna wonder why. You'll know in a minute. I'm gonna jump to partially the construction budget. But I did it for a reason. Wally, come up here and sit by Mr. Cooper for a moment, please. And the bus I'm fixing to throw you in is under is big. Big bus. Now, with that said, Wally, I had a conversation with you about McPherson, correct?
Yes, sir.
There was lots of issues we discussed about the McPherson expansion to be able to hold 224 females, correct?
Mhm.
One of the things that disturbed me is that as, first of all, the timeline. But mostly is you, in your opinion, we're gonna have to select an architect to do that job, because you don't think procurement will allow us to continue on with the on-call architect because the project's gonna run over $1 million. Is that correct?
I think we'd have to get it verified with DBA, but I believe that's the guidelines they have right now.
Chad, you just had another chore. I wanna know whether we can hire this man to get this work done.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, last year, that rule changed from 1 million to 2 million for your home.
Did it change?
Yeah, I think that's,
Do you think the job will run over 2 million?
depends on how it's procured. If it goes out for bids, it will definitely be over 2 million. If ADC can do a lot of the work, I think we can get it for under 2 million.
Okay, all right. See, the problem is you to do the work to see if it's gonna be over $1 million or 2 million, we're gonna have to pay you, then we'll have to pay somebody else. Is there any way you can sit here and tell me that you can get it done for under 2 million?
Yes, sir. We've been working on it since our conversation a couple weeks ago. And we've identified lots of areas that ADC can perform the work and procure the material. We've reached out to a contractor that's currently working on the Batesville project, had them give us some professional estimates on the material cost. And they have given us a document and a spreadsheet that covers the material for a little under $2 million.
So if the board votes now for you to continue on the project, you know you can't miss that target of $2 million, right?
Based on the information, yes, sir. And we'll do everything we can to get in under that target.
If we get close, who are you gonna notify?
I will notify the board.
All right. With that said, I want everybody to know, we're talking maybe 6 months from now, or at least 4. But we can't get it done any quicker than 4, correct?
Right. That's correct. And we've done very preliminary work to this point to get the budget numbers pulled together. We actually have a site visit tomorrow with our engineers to verify existing conditions on the HVAC and the electrical. We don't want to disturb any more than we have to, and reuse what we can, so.
Okay. All right. The board need to know all that because it's gonna act like we can just fill those beds, and in the short term, it's never been that. And it's never been that 2 weeks later, we're gonna have inmates and we can make all these changes, okay? Y'all hearing it from the man that does the work, and that's why I wanted him here. And I want, I know there's no, maybe just at my instructions, you need to continue on that project. Any board member wants to have a vote, we'll have to suspend the rules to vote. Other than that, I want Wally and his bunch to continue on with Mr. Cooper and get this done. Because we're painting the corner, we didn't act quick enough to approve beds. We could have put inmates in there that next day anyway. They had to be remodeled, which I knew. So,
What's the time estimate of finishing this project?
We've actually done a preliminary schedule that shows 6 to 7 months. Us performing the work, utilizing the material that we're gonna purchase. I have that schedule available, if you'd like to see it. Also,
Mr. Cooper, let me ask you a question.
yes, sir.
Did you not think that was important to get to the board at some point when all this came up about McPherson? I mean, why do we not have it?
Well, Mr. Chairman, there was some preliminary work that had to be performed on that before we could deliver information to the board that was accurate, that was something that could be utilized. That's what Mr. Wally was working on whenever a phone call happened several weeks ago, that he had just got back the narrative that would have to be performed in order for us to know what work needed to be done.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. I mean, chief. I want to make sure that you're saying 6 to 7 months.
That's just unbelievable.
And 6 to 7 months means my birthday is September the 7th. You're saying I can come in and have my party in September. That y'all saying?
Yes, sir, and I will update the board every month as our progression.
Okay, now serious though. You know, we're being pushed, we got to do some stuff done.
Yes.
It's important to get some things done.
Yes,
Okay, thank you, sir.
It's also important not to mislead the public.
Yeah.
And now we're letting them know that a project's gonna take 6 months from today.
Or 7.
I gave him 7.
Or 7.
To 7.
I'm gonna try to push
7
for
months.
6. So, Wally,
Yes.
thank you for dropping that and coming talking to us. And, because the board needed to know what I knew when you all talked.
I don't know whether our new board members know who this gentleman is or not.
Oh, do you not know? I'm sorry. This is Wally with WD&D architects and engineers. They do probably, 85% of our construction is always, and what we have is what we call an on-call architect. So if everything is not under usually $1 million, we can use him. Rick says now it's 2 million, which not gonna challenge, probably right. But, so Wally in his comments to me was the same thing you're hearing now. Same thing that he was afraid of where it would get to. So we just don't need to get over that mark, because then we had a good drawing of North Central to add on to North Central. Be glad to give it to you someday. We had them drawn up and found out we had to pick an architect. We couldn't use their temporary plans because it's gonna run over the number.
Exceed the amount.
So it's a waste of money, or unless the architect on call can tell us real quick, hey, I can't do this for you, it's gonna run over this number. So, really confident in WD&D and their work.
Well, the reason for our site visit tomorrow is so that we can start delivering drawings as soon as possible. They can start ADC can start the demolition right away. And we can also get them drawings sufficient so they can start procuring some of the materials quickly too. So
Okay.
it's going to be a fast track process to meet that milestone.
Well, here's the deal, at some point, we're going to approve the $2 million. It's something. So that's the other thing this board needs to know and understand. Okay? Wally, thank you for coming in. Rick, I'm gonna go back now. I see Wally in there, so I figured I moved to your section, but, I've got people confused. But we're gonna go to, Ms. Bratton. Is that me?
Good afternoon. Before I get started on the recidivism report, I wanted to clear up some of the things I said at the recidivism task force meeting last Monday. As a researcher, I think it's really important that I speak clearly and elaborate appropriately. And after watching that back, I realized I should have elaborated in some areas. I was asked to talk about my work and program evaluation to the recidivism task force. I talk about my work a lot, so I was only thinking about the programs I've interacted with. I wasn't thinking about the school or 309. I've never dealt with any of those, and that's no excuse. I apologize for not clarifying, especially the school does offer career and educational enhancement programs that impact recidivism and our communities. I also should have clarified that I wasn't talking about our volunteer programs. We have volunteers all over Arkansas that do a lot for us. So I should have clarified that. Moving forward, I'll be a lot more clear.
Brandon, of course, the board heard, and some of them might have been inaccurate, that you said that. I didn't say it was intentional, didn't say you lied. But I think that we need to go over some of the stuff before you testify to me, especially my concern is if you'd have went to the legislature and done that. Because this board has never gave a legislature false information. And we just don't, you can't go to that Capitol building and say something wrong and then left with it. So that is a lesson for you. I appreciate you coming and telling us that, but I'll let each board member address it if they want to. If not, we're gonna move on.
Okay, and I don't know what I said was inaccurate. I just should have definitely clarified that the school, what I was talking about, for sure.
Anything else? On the right, on the left?
Well, I have some comments, but I think, are you gonna make a presentation?
Yes, I'm gonna talk about the recidivism report.
Okay. Before you start the presentation, because you're liable of causing me to forget it, you just said that you never done 309s. See if that program is effective or not.
Right, I have not.
And I really wish you would do that.
Okay.
And because it's just one of those issues that seems to get discredited and never brought to the forefront how much success it offers. So if you would do that, I would, at least one board member would really appreciate it, okay?
All right, I'll do it.
All right, now go ahead.
Sir, were you gonna say something on the end? Oh, okay.
Oh, wait.
Okay, the 2018 release cohort. In 2018, 11,346 individuals were released from an ADC prison or ACC center. Within 3 years, 5,624 of them recidivated, making our recidivism rate 49.6%. As you know, in 2021, we changed the operationalization of recidivism to include a probation imposition. So it went from just return to incarceration to include a probation imposition. If we
What is probation? What did you say?
Oh, an imposition.
Probation
so
imposition.
Being sentenced to probation.
I'm sorry?
Getting a probation sentence. Yeah.
Getting a probation sentence from the court?
Yes.
Why would that even be considered in the recidivism study?
So because of the definition, and the former Secretary Graves asked me to start including it because it speaks about conviction. So because that's a conviction for a criminal offense after they're released, we started to include it.
Is that traditional? I mean, how long has that been included in the recidivism study?
I included it in the 2017 release cohort and this one, so both of the ones I've done.
Okay. Okay, I'll save a question for that.
Okay. Okay, so if we just look at the return rate like we used to, the return rate would be 43.6%. Just the probation rate is 5.9%. I was gonna add something about how we operationalize it, or used to. Okay, I'll come back to that. I don't remember. The bulk of the report that you have read is descriptive statistics. Because of the agenda, I'm gonna skip to the binary logistic regression, but I'm happy to go back to any descriptive y'all have questions on. I use a binary logistic regression, a statistical technique that estimates the probability of an outcome. In this case, it's recidivism on certain independent variables. This allows us to predict recidivism. The results of this can inform programming, practices, policy, and the implications for these results is it can tell us who to focus those things on. The results showed that gender, age, STTG affiliation, race, criminal history, which we use number of past incarcerations, and criminal offense matters for recidivism. The only one that was not significant was a transitional facility. Delving into these a little bit, we found that men are 1.5 times more likely to recidivate than their female counterparts. STTG affiliates have a higher probability of nearly 2 times non-affiliates to recidivate. And for every past incarceration, the odds of future incarceration increase by 1.2 times. So criminal history, none of these findings were surprising. because of what we know about the literature, but it's just good to know, that, identify this in Arkansas, because we can't always generalize correctional research. And the last part of the recidivism report is talking about how we can't compare states based on recidivism rates. It's futile. And what we demonstrate there's several reasons for that, but the one that we highlight in the report is the different operationalizations of recidivism across states. In other words, every state measures recidivism differently. And I will say that this is just a snapshot. Since 2021, some of the definitions have changed. Ours have changed. The way we operationalize doesn't change, but the definition itself.
Do you know any states who define it similar to the way that Arkansas does?
So if you'll see the Venn diagram on page 19, there are 7 states that use the 4 components of recidivism in their definition. However, each one looks at who counts as a recidivist or for what differently. And I will say that those 4 in our definition, yes, but we do not use it to operationalize recidivism. We only use 3 of them. But because we base this on definitions, we included Arkansas in those 4. So even within those similarities, there's important differences. I mean, there's other differences why we should not use a sole measure recidivism to judge any correctional agency, but this is the most serious one that's often overlooked. We also talk about the follow-up period of recidivism that range from 1 year to 10 years. Just the federal recidivism rates is based on rearrest within 8 years. So it's just really important to look at the different things, but oftentimes we just look at one figure and then make judgments on the effectiveness of agencies, programs, policies, a lot of things. And we just really shouldn't do that. If we differ on any factor from the population, laws, criminal justice system, anything, it's an unfair comparison. So, and I know that you know that, and so that we were just kind of talking about the speciousness of that, of using just a sole measure. All right, and so overall, the report highlights our recidivism rates. It is high, but we also have a definition that includes a lot of components, unlike many states. But the good news is we can change it through propositive actions known to address recidivism.
Brethren, are you ever asked to serve on any program board or anything before they start a program? Because anytime we see your information, it's kind of like you're telling us something we already know, but it's more in detail what we already know. Everybody knows that, at 65, inmates get easier to control. Kind of like my wife says, I'm easier to control now.
We may need a second opinion back there.
But, it's a known fact.
Yes,
And what could we do to that population, for example? You're a really smart person. What could we do to help certain populations be able to get out? Now, the problem with these 65-year-olds, a lot of times they're life without. Not much you can do. But there is a bunch of them that some way or another, we have got to find out if there's any of them if there's a certain program or if we could do, if there's something, excuse me.
To help them not recidivate?
Right, well, I don't worry so much about, like I say, I know some people come back, of course, after 65, but anything that would help them make it on the outside, plus maybe get out, because some of them still get, a level 4, and they can't, even if the parole board approves them, they can't leave us till they're level 2.
Yes, so I don't know if that's two questions. I might need to answer it in different ways. I do think that we can implement evidence-based practices and programs that will address the criminogenic needs of anybody in any age. You would want to focus on younger individuals, but absolutely, it would help those people. As far as getting out, looking at their probability based on certain factors about those individuals, we could make an informed decision on those who perhaps you could get out and not be at lower risk for returning.
I'm always concerned about the parole board. They make some very, very hard decisions. Who to let out, who not to let out, and they can look on paper, and everything looks good, does it, Mr. Bell? They let somebody out and there's a failure. They have to me, in the justice system, except for walking that line every night across them bars, they have the hardest job of anybody.
Yes.
So.
And there's always a chance that people will come back, but criminality is unpredictable at the same time predictable. Any statistical model, this one I was talking about was about 80%, predicts 80% of the time, right? So we could always make predictions, but there are people that will slip through that it won't predict for.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir. Quite a few. Dr. Pratt, first of all, you and I have had this discussion before, and certainly I don't come to you as in an adversarial role. I think that we have been very common in our beliefs. I've had several conversations with you since you've been on board about that our program should be, we should evaluate our programs and make sure that our programs, first of all, do some good, but they do some good to the inmates they should do some good to, and not put people in programs that the programs will not do good for.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I did take the opportunity since our last conversation. I got some help on this, but and I gave you. I think you have a handout there.
Yes.
These are all. Well, let me explain. The first page are all the programs in community corrections. Quite a few, a lot of programs.
Yes.
Maybe too many.
And the second one are all the programs in the Division of Corrections. And a lot of programs. And by the way, there's I got it broken down by unit and all that. But this is kind of an overview. You stated there, and I'm going to challenge you on this. You stated at the last meeting that we had no evidence-based programs in the Department of Corrections.
That I know of, yes.
On this first page, there says these are evidence-based programs. Is this a matter of your definition and somebody else's definition of evidence-based programs? Or maybe explain that to me.
So when I'm talking about evidence-based programs, I'm talking about programs that reduce recidivism because that's the outcome measure in corrections.
Say that again, what?
So when I'm talking about evidence-based programs, it's the science based on independent variables, so program components that influence recidivism because it's in corrections. If I was looking at a program, say, for health, that would change. I would go to a different literature. But because, here it's typically recidivism. When I look at the goals of a program, it's usually recidivism. So we want to use that scientific literature.
All right, what it sounds like you're saying is that the programs that we have, we don't have an idea of whether they work or not.
Most of them have not been evaluated. And without evaluation, you cannot identify their effectiveness.
How are they going to be? You're looking at a massive amount of programs here. And by the way, on page 5 of your recidivism study, you have cohorts. And by the way, that's much of what the information I had. You had cohorts, cohort 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Return rate, and I think this is this is a rub that I had at the meeting the other day. It seemed like that there were people saying that we had no interest in establishing programs that would reduce recidivism, when in fact, if you look at the 2013 through 2018, the return rate, which has been the traditional way to define recidivism, the return rate has gone down every year from 49% in 2013 to 43.6% now, which means that somebody, it sounds like somebody's doing something right. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is indicative of a lot of factors that influence criminality. I don't know what factors it would be without looking further into it.
Here's,
All right, but.
hold on, I'm gonna take a place just a second.
Okay.
Brett, what you're just saying, I'm sitting there trying to take this in, and Pathway to Freedom, for example, there's no question it has a lower recidivism rate than a lot of our other programs. I know you're familiar with it. Are you saying, I mean, who says that doesn't have evidence base because somebody hadn't staffed it? Or what does that mean? Because we've got the regular population recidivate rates at 45% and they recidivate at 32%.
So I would say to that is that there's a lot of factors that influence reoffending, and we don't know if it's participation in that program or not that influenced their later criminality. Say if the population, if they were all older individuals, we would expect them to recidivate less. It may not have anything to do with their participation in that program.
You go ahead, Malone, because I
Well,
don't want to say anything else. It just brought me to a comment I just want to stay out of. I don't understand.
Well, so, okay, a reentry program typically cares about like reintegration measures. So you have, are they employed, full-time or part-time? Are they making a salary high enough to support their families? How involved are they in treatment? How involved are they in social activities, like pro-social activities like church? How often we can quantify all this stuff. But if we just look at a recidivism rate and say they do fail for whatever reason, and they are reincarcerated, we might, just by looking at the recidivism rate, say that program's ineffective. But when we looked at all those other measures, say it was employed full-time, making good money, involved in, and it was some other factor that sent them back, we couldn't judge that program based on one outcome measure, is all I'm saying. There should be a few before, we look at.
I understand that, but I'm kind of at a standstill here because it's danged if you do and danged if you don't. We've got to figure out a way to keep these people out of prison, but yet what you're saying is that we don't have an effective way to figure out how to keep them out of prison.
I'm saying that we can have programs to
All right,
address recidivism. These might address well-being or employment skills or anything. That's
Whose job is it to figure that out?
so my job as an evaluator is to make. I don't know whose job. I don't know, but it would be unethical for me.
Dr. Bratton, it would be wonderful to have a job just to figure out what's wrong. Whose job is it to figure out what we got to do to make it right?
Yes, and I've made recommendations based on the science.
So it's your job.
To make recommendations, yes.
If I may interject just for a second, I believe what you're stating is that it would be unethical for you to do the research, develop the program, and then evaluate the program.
To develop it, yes, and implement it, yes.
Yes, because then we don't know if you're validating something based on your own bias.
Of course.
And so I understand what you're saying there.
Yes.
I just want to clarify.
But I do make recommendations in everything I do.
Okay.
And have meetings and follow-up and presentations, and yes.
Do either one, Ms. Cole, May,
Go ahead.
Ms. Cole,
Go for
closure.
it. I'm not turning your mic off.
I just want to state that I'm over the programs division for Department of Corrections. And so when I look at all the programs that we currently have, based on Dr. Bratton's, assessment, none of our programs are evidence-based. It might be due to class size. As you know, in the prison system, we might have 40 or 50 people in a barracks for a program. Based on space, staffing, you can't have 10 people to a class. You can't do that. So that was one of her recommendations. And so we went back and we looked at it and we put 12 opposed to 15. So that makes it not evidence-based. On her assessments of the programs, she uses the correctional program CPC to do an assessment. Well, she did an actual assessment on 4 of our programs, which was the SALT, RSVP, the Think Legacy, and also the SERVS, which is 4 of our biggest programs. None of those were determined to be evidence-based. She did the assessment. Now, those are only 4 that she assessed out of so-called 100 that we have. She's never been to any of the other programs to assess whether they're evidence-based. So she made the recommendations. We had Dr. Thorson, who was a clinical psychologist, in the meeting, and she provided documentation showing all the changes that we had made to meet the recommendations. We went forward with the program. That was in 2022. But that program was not assessed again. So based on being not evidence-based, you have to have a follow-up to show where you made those recommendations, and that program has to be assessed again. I think it was in August. She assessed the SERVS program, which was the SATP, which was not evidence-based, so we went to SERVS. We had a pilot program at the Grimes and McPherson unit that we had been doing for over 2, 3, 4 years. And so we were given the task of a deadline of making sure that we transition from SATP to SERVS in 6 months. We did that. At no time did she say, okay, the program is not evidence-based, so now we have it in all our facilities. So based on the recommendations, if you have one thing that's not based on the literature, empirical data, then it's no longer evidence-based. I think Legacy program, we added something to it, which we went back and pulled that out, but yet still it's still not evidence-based. So right now it's like, what do we do? Do we continue with the program that we have, because we have to have programs? Or do we just not do any programs, just based on the fact that none of them are evidence-based? Right now, we're waiting on the assessment tool. The assessment tool that we had, we were using, it's not valid. So now, we're waiting on that assessment tool in order to be able to look at the needs and risk assessment of all the inmates within the Department of Correction to make sure that they're getting the programming that they need. So we still don't have that. So my staff, as well as mental health staff and treatment staff, they're doing all that they can to go by the assessment tool. But yet still, if you state that something is not evidence-based, give out the recommendations, and you don't come back to look and see where you at and meet those recommendations, how can you say that they're not evidence-based if you didn't do a follow-up? So that's the issue that we're having. And one special note I want to make, before I come into this position, Dr. Bratton was over programs. She was over programs. So some of this stuff just didn't just start. It's something that she's been working on for a while. And I just have to come in and take
Ms. Taylor,
other programs.
Ms. Taylor, you had some you have a list, do you have a copy of what
Yes, sir.
you have a list there of what are termed evidence-based programs. Those, I'd like to hear your response to the discussion here. Are these evidence-based? Are they not evidence-based? What do we do?
I'm actually going to let Deputy Director Senator Bowers answer that. She is actually she holds the certification in treatment, and so she's probably going to be the best one to answer this.
Good job, Earl.
Yes. Pass that, bud.
So for the community correction side, our side of the house is a little bit different. All of our offenders come into programming without the option to participate in programming. And because of our licensure with the Department of Health, we have a requirement of 20 hours mandated upon us because our facilities are licensed as substance abuse treatment facilities. So the individuals that leave from our custody leave out with a certificate of completion that is recognized if they went to any other free world drug treatment facility. With the evidence-based programs that are identified on this handout, these are the current curriculums that we're using. The only exemption would be the 12 steps of AA. But our medication-assisted treatment program, we use that in conjunction with Vivitrol. Living in Balance curriculum was just what you all approved for us to purchase last year. And we did consult with the then program administrator, consulted with Dr. Bratton and the staff before we purchased that. And then we have the partnership with UAMS that is evidence-based. Now, the variables and factors that would deem it, quote unquote, from a scientist perspective, that it's not evidence-based are the factors of the group size, if there is adequate training of staff, if there is any adjustments to the material. So for our facilities, I did receive her recommendations from Dr. Bratton. We've been in constant communication. Her team has visited each one of our facilities and looked at our concepts that we operate. With us, we operate under the modified therapeutic community approach, which is different and non-traditional to treatment. In regards to the group sizes, if we were going to go for an 8 to 10 ratio to be quote unquote evidence-based, we would need a minimum at our largest facility, 30 additional people in the treatment department, in addition to classroom size. So Ms. Bannister, who is the AD of programming for community corrections, she has been working with each treatment administrator at the unit along with the wardens to come up with something that is a realistic plan of how we can implement those changes while one, maintaining our licensure standards, and then two, being in compliance with ACA, and then also not having an extreme burnout amongst our staff, because right now we are having a hard time recruiting clinical staff at the salary that is offered. Secondly, in regards to a lot of program changes as far as forms and manuals, I instructed my staff, as Deputy Director Cluckley did. We were given several meetings of discussion that we would have what is called, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Bratton, a correctional plan assessment or assessment that would develop a correctional plan. And that was to give the individuals incarcerated a framework of what they would work on in programming from beginning of incarceration, while incarcerated, until re-entry and post-release to field services. For me, in my opinion, we didn't need to do piecemealing of changes, because not only would it confuse the staff, it would also not be beneficial to the residents to have to go ongoing changes until we had that assessment tool that we were waiting on. So for me, as Deputy Director Taylor said, my background is a little different. I do hold credentials with our certifying board. I'm an advanced alcohol and drug counselor, and I'm a certified clinical supervisor. I've sat on the Arkansas Substance Abuse Certification Board as a board member for several years. So I've been doing this almost 19 years, and I'm very passionate about what we do. We've discussed this at length, my passion. When you talk about science, you're talking about data. When you're in the unit, you're not dealing with data, you're dealing with people and human beings. So I believe that the service delivery of what we do, it is very relevant, it is very effective, and at the same time, there is room for improvement. We're looking at new curriculum to identify that would enhance what we're already doing, as well as adding some of our old curriculum that we used to do. We have people that were certified in specialized groups, but our turnover with the salaries and things, they've moved on. So we are rebuilding some units from the ground up in our treatment department. So I hope that answers your question. We do a lot. We have a lot of community volunteers to come in. We have a lot of educational programs that expand with partnerships through Shorter College, the correctional schools, other local community colleges like ANC in the Blytheville area, the University in Hope. So for me personally, as the Deputy Director for Residential Services and Programming, I just want to echo that I do respect what Dr. Bragg is saying as far as the science and the data. But I also want to go on record saying that as a person who has lived and walked programming to ensure we build our residents up and provide them an opportunity to have as much within the facility to ensure their success post-release, I think we do a very high quality job. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. But the best way for us to do that is to collaborate together with what we have now, and not so much as identifying what we know is wrong, but what can we do to get this train in the right direction.
Mr. Chairman, I could first get that, Dr. Bradley. As a layman, some of this stuff y'all go over my head. But as a layman, when I leave this building, I'm gonna be dealing with a whole lot more laymen. They're gonna have to question from 13 to 18. What changed? When I be correct, I tell them at 2014, we was at 51. Now look at 2018, this 43, we down 8%. To me, that's a good report. If you bring something down 8%. Would I be correct saying that?
Not the 8%.
Huh?
Not the 8% part. I would need to calculate it for you, the decrease. But you would be correct in saying that it declined. It decreased, yes.
The decrease by 8%. Are you saying it's
No,
not?
the change in percentage, I would need to do it on a calculator really fast.
That's from this, right? You know,
Okay, I will.
Because to me, that looked good.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's definitely a
And the
big
bottom
part
line
decrease.
is, it's not getting worse.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members have any questions? Because I'm fixing to set this part.
I got one question, Mr. Chairman. Brady, how big is your team? Because I know it sounds like there was maybe a challenge of follow-up. So how big of a team do you have?
There's 3 of us, but really it should be 2 years. That way they have plenty of time to implement it and data can be collected.
Okay.
We did the SATP evaluation in 2019. The changes were made in 22 or 23. There hasn't been enough time. And I've only been on board since the end of 2020. And I'll just say that whether a program is evidence-based or not, it's not binary. It's not a dichotomous thing. It's the extent to which a program is evidence-based. And there's a lot of factors. And with class size, for example, it's not just are these class sizes. I mean, we don't have room for prisons. So I'm saying from a perfect world, we would have all these classrooms. But the problem with the class size, for example, is that the number one thing that links people to crime or influences crime is our cognitive pathways, how we think about crime and how we justify and rationalize it. The best way to change any behavior is through cognitive behavioral strategies or cognitive behavioral therapy, which require social learning mechanisms, role play, acting things out, modeling techniques all the time. It's not ambiguous. It's all the time. It's the main method of delivery. With anything bigger than that, with 10 or 12 people, you can't do it. So you're not practicing, you're not role playing. So there's several things that are addressed there. And then there's no assessment tool that are identifying criminogenic needs. So those needs directly related with reoffending. But if the program is for well-being, I mean, that's another story. This is just criminality or reoffending.
Some of our programs have now been given to the inmates where they can self-pay. I don't know nothing about it, but all I do know, listening to this conversation and being confused, I think it's very, I want to instruct Miss Gray to give me about 5 days, no longer than Monday evening. Any of y'all want to volunteer, you can. If you don't, I will pick you to serve on a committee
I volunteer.
that we're going to meet with
You have a
you.
volunteer down here.
I volunteer.
Okay.
Yep.
Write that down. Because there's going to be 2 board members. I know that creates a problem with the press, but that's just going to happen. I want 2 board members, 2 people to understand it. Y'all are going to meet and discuss what's the word, evidenced and what's not, but what programs. We need to, if anger management doesn't work, and it never has worked, and we've changed it 2 or 3 times, it needs to go away. We don't need to spend the time. So which I believe actually it works, but we need to do is,
It just makes me mad.
yeah, it just makes you mad. But we're gonna have to get some good, some times it's gonna have to be spent with some stakeholders like Cerna, like maybe Dale or Galen. I'm putting too much on Dexter time too. I can't even call him now and visit with him. So, but my point is, we got to get a group together to understand it and bring it back to the board. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna get I want to let you all pick, unless Sherry tells me differently. Pick who the chair is. But you're gonna have a study group. Okay.
Okay.
It's obvious we need it. All right. Chad. I know where you're going first, and I'm gonna cut you off pretty quick. Medical RFP, not blaming it on you, but there is no way we could have got that document read in that amount of time to approve it today. When is the drop dead time we need to approve that to move it on? Who you looking for, Donna?
Listen.
Yeah. What day? Listen.
I'm sorry, you were asking what date we need to put this out on the street
Yes.
to get this by
Yes.
summer? Next
When does
week.
it need to be approved by the board?
It needs
So
to be approved today to keep us on timeline. If not, we'll be pushed back.
There's no way that we can read that document. And I don't care what the board does. The board can approve the change of the Arkansas flag today if they want to. I just serve as the coordinator. Did you all see that book?
It's actually less pages than it was a year ago.
It's less page than it was 10 years ago. But I already see a flaw.
The majority of that document is the same as what y'all approved last year for the first RFP.
Do you recognize that you're talking to a 70-year-old can't remember what he read a year ago?
Yes.
All right, here's the deal. There is one place that I know that it's incorrect, or needs, not incorrect, needs some input. That input is that it needs to say, it's the negotiation committee. I don't think it names anybody now. We used to have a negotiation committee. And that committee used to be the director of ACC, the director of ADC, it needed to have, in this particular case now, it's been 10 years, a person from the chairman's side of the, not chairman, secretary's, shared services side, which probably should be Chad. And then it needs to have, I wish we could get by with 2 board members, but probably can't. So I'm gonna tell all the board members up here, you choose between me or Doug Byers.
Or Lee.
Or Lee, I'll give Lee that. Yes, he's had a lot of input. He may even already read it. But the reason I say that, somebody needs to be on that negotiation team that can negotiate numbers.
Mr. Chairman, in the past, the negotiations committee has been chosen once the RFP hits the straight, and it's strictly an internal process. That's internal. So,
Are you telling us that if we approve this today, you can, it's not too late to get a negotiation team that's more accessible to us?
correct.
Y'all got the booklet? I read about that much of it. So whatever y'all want to do. I don't like, we're talking about a $1 billion contract. We're talking about a 10-year contract, and we got that maybe 3 days ago, the most. No blame to everybody else, okay? This has been a messed up affair from day one this time. Messed up. And I don't know who's done it. I wished I knew. But I can tell you this is ridiculous to put that in front of the board 3 days from now to say, yeah, let's send it out, and it's a 10-year project for over $1 billion. I am shutting up. The next thing I'm gonna do is call for a short break. But you all do what you want to do. It's either change what the Arkansas flag looks like or approve this RFP.
Mr. Chairman, she said 1 week. What'd you say about 1 week?
I said, if we can get this approved today, we can put it on the streets next week.
Oh, I thought you said you could, get up the weekend. Well, how, for the next you all up if we, 1 week out? 'Cause we wanna
It's
be
just gonna
right.
delay the process.
How much time, delay the process, you come out, what, a week?
If we had give you an additional week, it will put another additional week, possibly 10 days on our process.
1 week gonna turn into 10 days?
Well, it's because of the way.
I'm just
It's the way.
making.
This, said I was gonna shut up. But I'm telling you right now, sometimes somebody's gotta be told no. We say yes constantly. But this is not proper. And you know, it's been messed up. You've been asked more questions than anybody about it. I don't know what the hurry is now. I don't know why we've gotta get it out to the public next week or 2 weeks from now, whatever. What's the need?
Current contract expires June 30th. That's all. I'm just letting you know that. And it takes.
So that was a 1-year contract. So we've been 1 year to try to even get to here. Don't you got a problem with carrying on the current contract if we can't get this out?
Wait, can you answer that question?
I don't know, I just asked it.
There's always an opportunity for an extension.
Okay, see there, I got an answer. Y'all do what you want to. I'm just, so.
If we call
If everybody says they read.
How much time do you think is needed, Mr. Chairman?
I don't know, I don't know.
Week? Can you look at it in a week, 10 days?
Oh, yeah, I can have my part done. Probably all I'll do is Saturdays go through it.
But can we have a phone?
We can have a phone meeting, whichever one y'all want to do. I'm good with it. And you all know I'm normally against these kind of big deals, having a phone meeting. This really does need to put out, as long as there's one thing on that phone meeting and everybody says they've read it and they're good with it. Now, what I want you all to do is be able to get their names and be able to call them and ask them questions. You're not gonna read it without a question.
I have a couple questions. Now, can I ask?
Lay it
you?
on.
Page 63. Talks about the acceptable performance and the monetary sanctions. My question is, are those sanctions mandatory? Who decides if those sanctions are instituted or not?
So we currently do have sanctions in place. The contractor self-reports when things are late and things have been gone overdue. It's a self-reporting honor system type thing. We are working with Marquis to be able to run our own reports so we can verify that data that we're getting from.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. Is the sanction mandatory? Let's look over here on page 64, medical negligence. DOC will assess a monetary sanction in the amount of $100,000. Is that mandatory if it's found that there's a medical negligence?
Yes, and in the document, it talks about that, should we suspect there's a medical negligence, we will send the records to an outside third party to review, and if that independent person determines that there was negligence, then we would assess.
What about some of the lesser ones, though? What about not getting, I think there's one there that health services request, or nurse sick call, well.
They have those processes in place now. So the process that you have now in place for assessing the sanctions would remain.
Yeah, but you just said that right now it's a self-reporting.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes,
What about in the new contract? Will it be self-reporting or will it be?
it is self-reporting, we would be able to track it better with the help of EONIS. We would be able to verify those numbers.
I want to make sure the public knows, everybody, this used to be a 10-year contract. It started out as a 10-year RFP. Now it's only a 5, isn't it?
No, sir, it's 10 years again.
It's just.
Okay. That's all the questions. Yeah, let's get a break.
Have a break. We'll give you an answer when we get back. All right. The board feels like there's something else that we need to address today. It's not on the agenda, it's been a question. So the chair would like to ask the board to suspend the rules, go back into executive session. The chair will take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we suspend the rules to consider going into executive session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Does a reason. A reason. A reason.
I'll say that in a minute.
Okay.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay. We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now make your motion.
Mr.
Go to
Chairman,
executive session.
I move that we go into executive session for the reason of considering interim secretary, hiring an interim secretary.
So, that said,
That's your motion.
that's we need to have a second.
You got it?
Got it? All right. The We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. We have a motion and a second to come out of executive session. All those in favor say aye. The reason for the executive session was to consider a interim secretary, and if we, there's a motion to name an individual that you and Watson and Brown will need to work on it. You all, the chair will entertain a motion.
A motion that we hire Senator Eddie Joe Williams as interim secretary.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to hire Eddie Joe Williams as the interim secretary. That's same as in the secretary's position. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. Let me see where we're at now.
Chad, you may need to, get with him about how to set up payment or whatever.
If you've got any questions, talk to Ms. Watson. He's done it millions of times. I don't know if it is right, but
I'll get with Eddie Joe and
Okay.
bring a bunch of students.
and I know you need to work with Nicholas. I ain't telling you this, okay? Didn't mean to leave you out, but there's just a little bit of legality to it. All right, on page 56, this is concerns me. I keep hearing different stories on this. Chad, it's under your deal, but go ahead.
So, Chairman, this is fairly simple. It's not an amendment, it really is just a yearly extension for this contract. This is a 50-bed expansion in Mississippi County. We extended 1 year. This will push it out to March 30th, 2025. Level 5 Architecture, that's the name of the company, so that's not any particular type of architecture.
Okay, I'm getting rumors to me that we approved a 50-bed, now it's going to a 100-bed expansion. Can I get some information on that? Do y'all want to withhold that?
No, sir. It originally started out as a 50-bed expansion. After that 50-bed expansion was reviewed, it was asked to make the space big enough to accommodate 100, 50 beds, double stacked. After it was processed for initial review, it came back that Mississippi County did not have a dedicated visitation area, and was asked to make the visitation area on the front of that building larger. At the same time, they do not have a dedicated commissary, so was asked to.
Who asked you to?
Well, there was the secretary's office, the director, was
Does
involved in that conversation.
Any board member here remember asking to expand that from 50 beds to 100 beds, adding other things to that project? Because, believe me, I'm not saying I don't forget things, but any other board member remember any other meeting being told that it was going from 50 beds to 100 beds? You remember anything, Donna?
No, sir.
Sherry?
No, sir.
Dexter?
No, sir, I don't think we had brought it to the board yet.
In any of your construction reports, does it show anything going from 50 beds to 100 beds?
It is not, sir, not until it comes to the board for review and approval.
My wife back there shaking no, I don't get mad. But I'm already past my description. This board has been put in the background for too long. Now, I'm not taking it anymore.
Understand, sir?
You got a heck of a lot of contracts you're overseeing right now. It would not be good for us to lose you. But the next thing, I'll be right down here telling them to terminate you. You do anything that you have not informed this board of. I mean, it's only common sense that if you are going from a facility of adding 50 beds to 100 beds, that you might want to tell somebody. You know, if you said, Mr. Backus, I called you on the phone and told you myself, then I let these people shoot me. I don't remember that conversation. Did you call me?
No, sir.
What do y'all got to say?
Chairman, I just want to say something. I really don't, I don't understand what's happening. Certainly speaking.
We've never had this problem. Go ahead.
But my concern is, are we just that mean that y'all just skip over us and forget about us on a lot of things? I mean, I'm not just talking, you know, certain things we don't know, at least I don't know nothing about. And it's just easy as a phone call to just say to the chairman, just say, we finna do this. Do we deny that much, or do we get mad at y'all when y'all let us do things? I think it's just a simple process. And I think, you know, because when it happens so many times, what happens is, it makes you think like that you are not following leadership. You know, I tell my student trustees all the time, I'm with you 99.9% of the time, if you let me know what's happening. And then we all got it, but I understand, y'all correct me, but we all got to lay up. At least one of us should know if something happened. Where you live on, Doc?
Farm.
So if something happened at the farm, and don't nobody know, Doc should know, shouldn't he? Then he should report to the chairman and let the whole board check.
And we recently had the Tucker Farm was honored with the Capitol for being 100 years. I didn't know anything about it.
I mean, oh
my God.
So just let us know what's going on.
Listen, y'all are not gonna say it, sir. But I always look for any problem. What's the common denominator? I know what the common denominator is and all these problems we're having over there. I'm just not gonna say it. Now, you all need to decide, again, I said it a while ago. You're gonna be, I don't care about the other stuff necessarily. Decide if you're gonna be on this team or not, and we're gonna go forward to the change, or be good enough to turn in your resignation. Nobody's making you work here. Y'all bring crap to us like buying $100,000 kitchen stuff. You're right, we need it. We need the kitchen stuff we need to know about, because guess what? We're the one that says yes and no. We should have known about that project, Rick. That's big. You just doubled the size. You're just going right along. You're not telling me. I'm pretty sure you could staff it. I'm pretty sure that you can find work for people. I don't know what to say. It's almost like I want to go back into executive session. I mean, this is just crazy. For the board to consider letting you go right now is almost cutting the nose off to spite your face. But this is not the first time we've been somewhere. And I want to apologize to everybody. My wife's going to get mad because I got a rule, never chew anybody out in public, and here I just did. So I'm sorry. But this has been too many times. So if the ice is thin, you call it. You melt it. Okay, we're going to move on. Unless any one of these other people needs to say anything. I don't have Dr. Parker and she'd be kicking my leg. But anyway, You got anything to say, Mr. Brownfield?
No, all I said, I'm gonna
Mr.
say,
Watson?
I can defend you all if I know about it. Don't need nobody to break out of three of them, and I get it downtown at the drugstore. I need to get it, so when I get out there, I can have a sensible conversation with the people. And say, yeah, they broke out. I might not can remember their names, but I know they broke out. That's all I'm saying. And I think every liaison needs to know whatever department. You ain't got to call all self board members. But these new board members, whatever chairman put them over, they need to know what's happening and what they're over.
Mr. Jones, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
Mr. Watson?
No.
Mr. Byers? Mr. Giles? Mr. Scully? Okay. We're gonna move on. I'm assuming, Mr. Brown, you still want this approved?
Yes, sir.
And it's where it's continuing that expansion. Chair will entertain a motion.
What needs to be approved, Chad?
So it's just a year, there's no money added to the contract, it's just a year extension of the contract. So
For Mississippi County.
for Mississippi County, so whether we decide to go through with the 50-bed expansion or not.
So that's not gonna affect that?
No, sir.
Okay, I move that this contract be extended.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is to purchase some inmate welfare funds for a needed kitchen. Forget where I read it. Where's this at, Chad?
Page 57.
No, but where is it going?
Everywhere.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'll give you a little background.
Okay.
So as I look through the funds and all of our funds with my staff, we go through those. I talked to Director Payne, and basically what we did is we looked at the inmate welfare fund, and we look at what we project to get in inmate welfare, and for the new members of the board, that's commissary. So whatever our population buys in commissary, we get a percentage of that goes into our inmate welfare fund. That's a cash fund. With that cash fund, the things that we purchased out of that goes directly back to the inmate population. So I met with Director Payne and his staff, and what we see in our department, the finance department, is we see a lot of requisitions, constantly fixing laundry equipment, kitchen equipment. And if you look at the pictures, you would understand. So I got with Mr. Payne, or Director Payne and his staff, and I said, here's up to $3 million we can spend based on what we have in the inmate welfare fund. Let's look at all of your units to see what is needed for your kitchen. And so we sat down in Director Payne's conference room. Each warden came in and presented what they needed in their kitchen and laundry room. This brings us to today. You will see the attachment behind it that starts on page 58 from Fastenal that shows that. I'm requesting $3 million. I don't think we're going to spend $3 million, but that gives us a little bit of cushion. I think we're going to stay closer to $2.5 million. But this is just to replace needed kitchen and laundry equipment that I think we can use our time and resources elsewhere instead of putting Band-Aids on current equipment that we have, that we've had for years.
And you say you had conversations with the wardens and explain that.
Yes, sir. What we done, Dr. Byers, we brought in each ward and had that ward present.
Each ward from all the
state.
units.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we had them present a list of items that were broken or they felt needed replacing. We trimmed that list. You know, of course, I'm an old ward now. Hey, I would ask for 2 stoves. I might only need 1. I'm just curious. The other stove might break next year, so I'm trying to prepare myself. So we narrowed all that down. Said, no, we're not gonna do that. But the things that we actually needed, Tucker unit, for example, has an oven that is probably as old as I am.
It's what?
It's older than I am.
Older than you are. How old are you?
I'm 53.
It was made in 72.
It was made in 72, so it's about my age. So we decided we needed to replace that. It's not really working, yeah, busted out, and knobs, can't find them anymore, they're so old. You can't find the parts for it. So we've made decisions like that to replace old equipment, and equipment that's not efficient for us. So that's what this list is. Chad gave us a dollar figure, and we decided to try to get under that dollar figure and purchase the equipment that we needed for all facilities in the agency.
Is that yours or mine?
No, it's yours, I stole it.
Well, you know, what I said some time ago, it may have been yesterday, how long have we been here? But, how the decisions need to be made as close to the level that it's being effective. I like that. I like that you call wardens in. I think they know what they need. And thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir. That's our normal process. That's what we normally do every year. Call the wards in. Like I said, they get a little greedy, but we trim them back. We trim them back and get the things that we know we actually need.
What do you
Y'all
need?
want- Motion to approve the purchase of the kitchen equipment. And I don't think that's a correct title, because some of it's washer and dryers.
Right.
I just, I don't know how to word it differently, but other than, say, the request for
Facilities, equipment.
facilities equipment, the chair will entertain a motion.
I move we accept it.
Second.
Okay? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All approve, all no, nay. All right, now, on page 73 and 76, if Chad wants to address some of that, I've read it. I just think we ought to try to, next few days, pick somebody, let you help pick. A board member that can help you all with that, each director, whatever you want to form a committee on and start working on the budget. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, I think that would be the best way to address that. You may want to do it this time. That's a pretty heavy, score, but, you know, you'll learn a lot about going over the budget.
Okay.
And so, Chad, when you pick some names out, if you would, let me know, okay?
Sure, I'll do that.
All right? I'll let Sherry know, and she'll let me know, whatever. I think that's the best way to handle those three deals. Because I've already read it, you know, I mean, she expects each agency, or somebody, to come up with $100 million to go to the Learns Act, so I don't know how much we fair. So, anyway, we'll do what we look at. Next on the agenda is, the construction budget. I'm gonna make a, comment here. I think in a lot of things that, whether we do it outside or, Tommy James do an audit rather than hear this today. I just think we ought to have an audit of the correctional system. Both of them come to the next board meeting and meet together about the reports we're getting. Everybody would agree with that? It doesn't have a star with it because it was a reported deal, but if any of y'all have a problem with my instructions, is not. If you do, we'll have a vote. If not, I'm instructing Tommy James, you have to hire some extra help, whatever you need to do, you do what you need to do a thorough investigation of what we're doing, where we're doing it, where our money is, everything else on the construction budget, okay? All right, now we can move on to tab 6, is Dexter Payne's, deal, and is he gonna get a break?
We made him mad,
Yeah.
You all right? So, Mr. Chairman,
I think you'll forgive me.
I'll forgive you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, today, January 31st, 2024, the jurisdictional account for the Arkansas Division of Correction is 18,522, which is an increase of 23 from the last reporting period of December 8th, 2023. The number of inmates housed in the county jail backup is 1,678, which includes 1,525 males, 153 females. There are 305 inmates assigned to the Act 309, 16 to the Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy, and 58 assigned to the Arkansas State Police. Also, before you, you have the Division of Correction Board report, and I will entertain any questions that you may have about our report at this time.
I think we've already went over the McPherson renovations, if you have something to add,
No, sir.
okay? Any questions of Director Payne's report that I usually have, but I don't now? Is, any questions or comments on Director Payne's report? There's no questions, we're gonna move to vehicle request for 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I am requesting the board's approval for the purchase of vehicles needed for the Division of Corrections fleet replacement for this year. A review of our fleet has been conducted, and the list of vehicles has been identified that are in need of replacement to ensure our fleet is operational and efficient for the coming year. A list has been prepared for your review and consideration, along with estimates of costs, as final costs may be subject to formal bids, since contracts are not in place for the purchase of some of the vehicles requested. And this total amount is $1,628,440.82.
What about the $1,032,000? Is it in this list, or are you just gonna hire it from industry money?
That's the industry's list.
That's industry.
Yes, sir, that's in the industry's mind now.
So-
So the industry's requesting 3 vehicles be replaced with their funds for $132,000.
So, yeah, it adds a little bit to the number, 132,000,
Yes, sir.
okay? All right, Chad, can you pay for it?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Clerk of the board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, I'm gonna call it to the left. Any questions? To the right, any questions? No questions from the left to the right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is lawnmowers. I always say at this point, I thought we had plenty of lawnmowers in the white seats.
Was
in the white uniform.
thinking
I do not understand why we buy lawnmowers when we got plenty of lawnmowers sitting in barracks. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I've got plenty of people to push the lawnmowers. I just actually need the lawnmower to be put, that needs to be pushed.
They got the kind that, just cut the grass by the, it don't have to have a motor on it.
Yes, sir. May take a little time now.
Uh-huh. Oh. Well, Dale, thanks for jumping in there and saving it.
As long as you spare me about part of it being a little high.
Yeah.
I'm good. The Department of Corrections, Division of Corrections requesting approval to purchase lawnmowers. Attached are 2 requisitions with quotes showing a total of $74,719 for 149 mowers. Below are the summaries attached. And what I did, I had Superintendent Zay do a little shopping for us for some of the best price lawnmowers and where we could actually get the equipment at. And we received a quote for 48 lawnmowers from Chapel Hardware and the Garden Center. These are the 22-inch even cut Briggs mowers. And we received a quote for 101 21-inch Briggs push mowers, total $42,000. So it's a grand total of $74,719.
Now, you do know that you could have just split this up one month or the other, and the board wouldn't have anything to say about it.
We don't do split purchasing. I don't want to get it all out there. I want to try to follow the law.
All right.
Transparency.
Boy, you are savior today. All right, you have a explanation on the purchase? What does the board want? Anybody want to say anything on the left? Anybody on the right? No question on the left or the right? The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, next is on the, we done the re-entry. Miss Taylor, you're up finally. We've been waiting all day.
Oh, no. Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. The statewide population count for the community corrections centers is 1,260 males, 535 females, for a total of 1,795 residents. This is, we're actually at 100.1% capacity. At the county jail backup, we have 39 that are actually in the county jail waiting to go to, that are either short-term or SSP.
Any women?
I think there is. I believe it's 5 that we're checking.
Okay.
So most of it, it's the majority. I think it's 32.
Just, first, go ahead and do anything else, because I got a couple things to say.
Okay, in community supervision in the field, we have a total of 69,147 offenders. 37,735 are active. And I'll take any questions.
First one I got, Area 6. I'm bringing this up because it's we didn't used to do this, we're doing it now with extensive parole officers. The caseloads are extensive by choice of who's picked to be in it or whatever. We always brag on SRT, and believe me, they do wonderful things every day. But we're getting, I know all staff, I have to be careful, but these guys anymore on the extensive, or what's not?
Intensive supervision?
Yeah, intensive supervision are doing a great job, and just like there, 4 handguns, 2 rifles, loaded magazines, a lot of other stuff. They are doing a good job, and please tell them that they're doing a good job, and the board notices it.
I will. And I apologize, I don't know why, I see this is the December report, which had November numbers, but I will tell you that in December, for the month of December, they picked up $35,000
Yeah.
out in the field.
Yep. That intensive supervision is working just like SRT was designed to work. So,
Thank you.
any other questions or comments? There. Somebody got it. Yeah, I was hoping you'd take care of me like that.
I tried to. Got not as good as Dale.
Okay. Next on the agenda is going to be another little Blytheville office lease.
Yep. Okay, so several months ago, we were tasked by the Secretary's office to review all of our leases to see if there were any offices that we could close or combine. We reached out to all of the area managers statewide, asked them if there were any offices that, we needed to combine, we needed to close, any of the judges that, were happy with it. Our Blytheville lease expired on the 31st of October. Ryan Burton, who is the area manager in Area 4, had actually requested that we close that office. We have 2 offices in Mississippi County, there and in Osceola. And of course, we own the one in Osceola. His main concern is that we had officers that he didn't have enough officers to put between the 2 offices due to our vacancies and some of our positions that were cut. And he actually asked, I had him check with the judges to see if they were okay with it. They were okay. I will say Judge Ritchie has now come back. He actually lives in Blytheville. He is not the judge over any of the offenders in Blytheville. And he's, I won't go into the reasons why he's upset, but it doesn't have anything to do with our offenders. We actually vacated the office on the 22nd of January. It actually came to a cost savings of $17,193 a year. And that would have been for the lease and for leased equipment in that office and for any the cabling or whatever it had to do with IT. I did have a map on there. We actually, on page 142 is actually is a map with where Osceola is, where our Blytheville office is. We actually are still seeing offenders in Blytheville if they want to. We see them at the police department, at least on Fridays, and after talking with Ryan Burton, we will see them there any other day also. But Ryan's main concern is we didn't have enough staff to be able to fill 2 offices in that county. At some points, he was closing part of the office on some days because we just didn't have enough manpower to do both offices.
Well, the growth is in Osceola anyway.
That is correct. That is correct. And we did not have a drug court in Blytheville. All drug court offenders were reporting to Osceola. But if you notice on the map, we do have officers that will see offenders in Blytheville, Truman, and Harrisburg. But in reality, we see our offenders anywhere. If you don't have a ride, most of these rural areas, a lot of people don't have rides. We see the offenders out in the community.
Well, hold on just a minute. You mean we go all the way to Harrisburg outside that? I heard you say Harrisburg now.
Yes, we do have Harrisburg. Well, actually, Harrisburg officers in Jonesboro go to Harrisburg, so it's not the officers in Mississippi County.
Okay.
We basically allow offenders to report wherever they want. For instance, in Cabot, part of it's in Pulaski County, part of it's in Lone Oak. Offenders are given the option to either report to the office where they're employed or where they live. We try to make it so that everybody has the opportunity with no excuse not to report. We work with what's best
How
for
many
them.
absconders have you got in that district?
I don't know, but I'll find out.
Find out, let us know. For y'all's information, Mr. Jones, listen up. If you look way back on the reports, I think it's important to tell you this, and I will tell you 2 statistics, and I'll get off of it. State of Arkansas has, right now, it's a number that's going to.
Are you looking at total number of absconders?
Yes.
It's 11,036.
It's 11,000 people throughout this state or run around the other states that are not under custody or supervision in any way. So when we talk about public safety, we've never had the ability. And that's one of the reasons SRT was formed, to try to knock that down. And believe me, they knock it down a lot. The problem is, a lot of times we don't have a place to put them. And let me give you a statistic, then we'll move back forward. 80% of the time, when somebody's not checking in, they're doing wrong. If they're checking in, there's 80% of the time, they're not doing wrong. So if they're coming to see their parole officer, they're trying to do the right thing. So the old 80-20 rule works in both areas, whether you're coming in or whether you're not coming in. That's what's scary when we're talking about this system. 11,000 people are not checking in. All right. That's just something I gave you all because you're new. And I look at it fairly constant. It bothers me a lot. All right. We'll go back to the Blytheville office. And the reason it brought to my mind is, when Ms. Taylor was saying we try to find a way to get them in and keep them under supervision, it's important. A lot of the offices open at 7 at night. One staff member stays one night a week late at that office where he can take care of people that's getting off work. So they can't use the excuse they can't get off work.
Our offices are open till 6.
To see. Some of them.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day, they open at 7.
It used to not be every day, but anyway, thanks.
It's every day. And they open at 7 every day.
All right, well, that said, y'all want to close the Reliable officer, she needs need a motion.
Move to approve the request.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, Elizabeth, let's talk about the OBG here for a minute.
Warrantless search waivers or OBG?
Well, I think next on the deal is OBG, isn't it? That's the one.
I could do
No,
that.
no, you're right, you're right.
Okay.
It may not be that way in my book right here. but
It's
you're
not,
right.
I don't think it's in your book. It's in your
Well, I know it's
folder.
probably in the book, but I just don't know.
I don't think,
It's on page 142A.
Well, 142A is your map. That's okay. I think
43.
Should be the page after the map? Maybe?
it's not for me, so y'all go ahead. I'm good.
Okay.
I'll look over the stuff.
Is that on me?
I don't want to.
OBG?
No, it should be warrantless search waivers.
No, this is what.
In your folder.
Well,
it should be in this
Oh, it should
folder.
be in that
It didn't, yeah.
that's good.
You're quick.
I did see it, so, glance at it.
Warrantless searches.
Go ahead.
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is more for informational purposes. The Arkansas Protect Act, Act 659 of 2003, requires
Right.
warrantless search waivers of cellular and electronic devices under the control or possession of an offender to be added to the supervision conditions of parole, probation, and post-release supervision. All offenders must sign the warrantless search waiver as either a condition of parole or a condition of supervision on probation. Robbins Research Group automated this in EOMIS, and it went into effect January 1st of 2024. And on the next page is actually a copy of the warrantless search waiver. It is electronically in the file. IROs, when they're at the penitentiary getting ready to be released, they sign this form along with the officer. And those being placed on probation out in the field also sign the waiver. And it is in EOMIS.
So are we saying ADC's gonna get a copy of this and they're gonna have to try to get it signed?
No, they don't have to do anything.
Or
We're
just
taking care
soon
of
as they come
everything.
to the parole office?
Well, the IROs work for
Oh, yeah, that,
community correction. We've taken care of all that. And as of, I checked with Robin this morning, we have over 9,400 warrantless search waivers already signed since January 1st.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. If a guy refuses to sign, I'll sign a warrantless on my house, I'll sign a warrantless on my car, I'll sign whatever warrantless, but I won't do it from the top.
Well, if they don't sign the warrantless search waiver in the penitentiary, they don't get out.
There you go. Good answer. Y'all want to approve that?
I'll move.
We have a motion on the left. We have a motion on the right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now let's go to the OVG, because I have got a comment.
Okay. Again, this is informational. The Arkansas Protect Act required changes to the offender violation guide. These changes went into effect on January 1st of 2024. The substantive changes based on the Protect Act required payment of fines and court costs to be suspended for the first 120 days following release from custody. Protect Act also required that restitution was payable immediately upon release from custody, and incarceration as a sanction in an ADC or ACC facility would be limited to 2 times during a 2-year period. These are the changes from what was previous. It also required that an assignment of point values to behaviors that decrease the likelihood of recidivism. This is basically an expanded version of incentives that will allow offenders to reduce sanction points by successfully completing interventions such as education, workforce development, community service, and behavioral health programming. The Sentencing Commission kind of made a cleaner look to the OVG. It's the same information. It's just on the paper version, it's a cleaner look. Also, the incentives are new, and they are not yet automated in EOMIS, but we're originally going to be done by the end of the month, and I apologize, I don't know if Robin's in here, but they should be completed very soon. We're just waiting on Marquis.
Okay. In the old OVG, it had, I don't know the name of the person or persons, but if any one person says, no, this person, we believe is a risk to the community, he needs to be revoked regardless what his points is.
Yes.
Is that anywhere in this OVG?
Yes, it is.
Because I fought hard for
Yep.
that in the legislation the last time.
It's on page 147.
147.
This is the instructions. These are the instructions for the officers. It starts with points are cumulative. Right before the exclusionary criteria from SSD, the second bullet from the bottom says a violation report may be written at any time for public safety reasons. That has not changed. That was in the original OVG approved by the Board of Corrections. It will not be taken out.
Mr. Jones? I assure you, when I know somebody I think's dangerous in my area, I'm gonna be giving you a call. Okay, I'm not bashful. So, there you go. Now,
So the incentives, this is new. We've wanted to do this for a long time, but this is now required by the PROTECT Act. It's actually on page 148, and we will be giving a copy of the incentives. And I apologize for not having that in your handout, but we have put on a separate sheet of paper the incentives for the 5, 10, and 15 points for offenders, and that was required by the PROTECT Act. And
when do you need this approved then?
I'm sorry?
If it's not complete, when do you need this approved by the board?
No, it's complete. It is complete. I apologize. What I meant was I don't have a copy of the incentives on a separate page, which would be what we would be given to the offenders. It's in your book, it's finished, but the copy that we give to the offenders, I didn't put a copy of that in here. Basically, on page 148, the first two columns, they do not get a copy of, which is the mitigating circumstances. They would only be getting a copy of the incentives.
I'm gonna ask the question again. Without it being complete in front of the board now, when is the last time we have to make this vote? It's complete, but we don't have those two pieces of pages. What?
No, they're.
Tell me where I'm wrong. I'm asking.
Do you need the copy that's given to me?
Yes.
Okay.
So what would you not want to see?
So they're here. They're finished.
Okay.
Okay.
They're in here.
Yep, they're
What
finished.
page is it?
Page 148.
All right, let's see here. 148. And this is the incentive for the inmates to get.
Yes, or the offenders on supervision. What I mean is, what they're getting is not going to be the first two columns.
Okay, litigation shall make increase sanction on them if they have a job. Explain that to us. So 6 months continuous employment, he gets 5 points taken off if he had it, or did he, is that right? Am I reading that right?
It's no vote.
Yes.
No, it's no vote.
Wait a minute, it's saying no vote?
She's not asking for a vote. She's for information.
This is informational for you.
No violations in the last 12 months is 5 points, or is it 10 points? What's? No, missed office. I like this right here. I like this. Resident offer security, and let's discharge it. Let's see. All right, let's just say this, residents offer security. Where does that come back over to the points on the other side? Tell me where that's at. How many points
Are you talking about residential treatment?
No, look on the left-hand column.
Mitigating circumstances.
Mitigating circumstances, it says,
Not points.
no violation in 12 months. Where does he,
Okay, those two columns, those are instructions for the officer to determine whether or not they're gonna give them a sanction. The offenders don't get that. The offenders only get the column that says incentives. That's it. They get that.
okay, all right. Well, evidently we don't vote on it, so I guess we're done, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's it. Next, as y'all very well know, whoa, wait a minute, next on the agenda, make sure we're down.
At the bottom. Radio.
Radio purchase, Sermon.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. We're requesting board approval for the Department of Community Correction to purchase 400 two-way radios for all community correction centers. Currently, our staff is using an outdated radio that has been discontinued. We had all of the wardens to send all of their radios to Lieutenant John Maples on the emergency preparedness side of ADC to do an assessment of those radios. His assessments revealed that either the parts were discontinued or the radios were beyond repair. In addition to purchasing the new radios that he has did a projected quote, which is on page 154, it will also page 50, I'm sorry. It will also come with the software that will make sure that we're able to make repairs and they're more maintainable than those that we have. As you all know, the radios are our most effective communication inside of our prison walls for the safety and security of our offenders and staff. The projected cost for this is going to be $100,652.80. That includes the tax, in which it was estimated in the PR. I have gotten with CFO Mr. Brown, who has confirmed that this funding is available for us by using the general revenue funds available.
Can you reread the number for us? Is it 100,000 or 160,000?
$160,652.80. My apologies if I spoke too quickly. And if you all would like to see pictures, I do have some that were not included in the packet that I had the wardens to send so that you all could see the type of damage that we're having. It's posing a hardship on our officers in clearing count, as well as effectively responding to any type of situation where they need immediate assistance.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if I could speak, they definitely need radios. We did an assessment for them, and their radios are bad shape. We also, if approved, we're gonna go ahead and program the radios for them at ADC. So they won't have to pay that cost.
There's a point that I speak out, and this is the board's prerogative. But I still believe and can't give up that we are 10 times, and I know what y'all are gonna say before I start. We'll be a lot better off getting Motorola radios under 800 band system, even if we're buying 10 at a time. They are better. We had an unbelievable offer made to us a couple of years ago. Had a 7-year warranty-free replacement, whether it broke or over for the truck, thrown out the window, whatever it may be. And we didn't take it because it's too much money. I understand these other radios are cheap. I get it. But I'm always, would love to see the other options to see how far off we are. And it's just that easy. You all have it in front of you. I have to let you, Brandon, I bet you know what a 800 radio is.
We operate those on the agency that I work for now.
And it's just, they're better radios, aren't they?
The thing that, not to discredit anything you said, but the things that I've noticed is that the upkeep ends up costing more in the long run. The purchase of the radios is cheaper, but Motorola's upkeep usually is more expensive on the service side.
Exactly. But if you have a maintenance-free contract for 7 years.
You don't have to pay it.
Yeah. So, with that said, I'm ready, whatever y'all want to do. I'm just sitting here as a headless dog.
Sheriff, you have the money? Does anybody have the money? Somebody might want the money?
Reverend, that's a tricky question. So, on the community correction side, I think we all understand that there's a shortfall in their budget that I'm working through with DFA, the governor's office. But for me, this is a purchase that I think we have to have based on the safety and security of those people within our centers and in our custody. So this outweighs the shortfall in our need to make sure we're safe within our walls.
In other words, you say you're gonna find the money, so I so move. Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Ready? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, now, gentlemen, we sat here all this time, and poor little old school is just sitting here just waiting on us. Very, they don't say much. They just sit over there.
Tracy mumbled under her breath a lot.
Oh, does she? Did she ever punch you to say, tell him to hurry up?
Not yet, no.
All right, on the first on the agenda, first of all, we recess as the Board of Corrections, and now we are coming together as the Board of Education. So now, you two gentlemen, you're a part of the school board. I don't know if you realize that now. But now there's no mamas that we have to worry about. But here's the first on the agenda, the minutes of 12/8 of 23.
Move its approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Where you going, Donna? You don't think I didn't notice you coming out? All right, next on the agenda is a quarter report from Paula Grub.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, on page 154, you have our second quarter ending December 31st of 2023. On the operating fund, as you can see, we've spent about 37% of that budget so far this year towards salaries and matching. On the building fund, we still have the $1.5 million for the Tucker project that hasn't been started yet. The Title I.
Tucker.
That's that for that Tucker school that we're supposed to do part of on the Tucker school.
I don't remember what.
It's been on there about a year, I
We're gonna add
think.
no school to Tucker.
We're building a new one out back.
It's been on there about a year, I
All
think.
right, go ahead.
Okay. Title I, we have spent 100% of that grant. On the adult ed funds, we've spent 44% of that grant that goes to salary and matching. On Title 6B, I'm currently started in January spending that $20,000 that's allotted for 3 months' salary to subsidize. On the adult ed special project, I haven't spent any of that $4,000, but I am in the process of ordering some books that money is going to go for at the Wrightsville unit. On the Carl Perkins grant, we haven't spent any of that $8,400 yet, but we do have the equipment ordered for the ICEV program that's going to North Central, so it'll be dispersed by the next quarter.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
Any questions for Paula? Y'all find her numbers. They're exact. So next on the agenda is the monthly report for Superintendent Bill Lowe.
Yes, sir. We didn't have a lot of school in January because the way Christmas fell, we didn't come back until the 8th. And then the following week was the ice storm. So we had, I think most everybody missed Monday was Martin Luther King, Tuesday, Wednesday was ice. Most everybody came back on Thursday. The way we handle this on a 4-day week is we make up the missed days on Friday. So some people have already made them up or will within the next week or so. Our GEDs, I've talked to you about the problem with the lagging GED numbers. It's getting better. If you remember, I explained that we had basically made it harder to qualify to take the test. And in October, we had 52% of what we had the year before, December 57%, January 71%. So it's working. People are figuring out how to cope better. All the principals would not want to go back to the way it was. They say this is a better way. It takes less time. It's taking less of their time. So I told you before, principals spend about half of their time involved in GED testing.
Y'all didn't know it. We go to 4 days a week. Tony? Could you stick around a little bit? I want to talk to you. Or you got kids to pick up or something?
Pick up at the hospital.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
but no, I'll stick down, it's fine.
No, if you need to go.
So the GED numbers looking better. Central office repairs. We had some storm damage on the roof, where insurance is probably going to handle that. The gutters are staying up on the honor system. The building was built in the early 20s. I can't figure out exactly. I can't find anybody that knows when that building was built. Do you remember, Dr. Byers? Early 2000. But the downspouts on the gutters are just there because they like to be there. They're not attached. So we're trying to get estimates on new gutters. We're wanting to paint the inside of the building. In 20 years, it's got kind of nicked up. We're getting some estimates. Not asking for approval on anything right now, but we're trying to get some estimates on paint, gutters, that sort of thing. Graduation. It's not too early to start thinking about a graduation speaker. I have no idea. But there's going to be a lot of stuff going on at the Ouachita unit in May, in terms of ACA audits and stuff like that. If we could do something late April, that would probably be good. The way this usually works, by the way, is we find a speaker and then find the date that speaker can speak. And so if you have any idea about a good graduation speaker for late April, keep out of their ACA audit and prep, that would be great. I don't really want to go any earlier than that. It's kind of anticlimactic after graduation for the school if you got graduation in another 6 weeks or something. That's not a good situation. And retirements. I am up to at least 5 teachers retiring at the end of this year. A lot of these people that I've been working with for 40 years are starting to mature. And they, at least that. But, these people are they're not mad, they're just ready to retire. So, we've already, I think, advertised for some of those for next year. And with the LEARNS Act and whatnot, some people are offering their people contracts much earlier than they used to. So we may be intent to hire some people much earlier than we used to. Used to, we saved interviews generally till May or maybe even the summer on new teachers. But we may be doing that earlier because we have at least one person in mind that's working in a different school district, and we're probably going to have to promise that person something probably in February to keep them from having to sign a contract where they are. We'll do a contract, but we'll promise them a job. That's okay. That's not today either. Ms. Dow can kind of catch up on the CTE side right quick.
Members of the board, one thing on the academic side, we started doing rat testing and intake at the ORCU unit whenever they come in for their initial intake. And over the past 3 months, 1,260 inmates have been given a rat test. And that helps out the schools when they get sent out to another unit. When they arrive at the unit, we already have some sort of an idea of school placement, where they need to go. But giving these inmates a rat test, even if they don't need school services, that kind of informs other programs of their ability. Some of the programs, they have some academic work they need to do, and, if they know what their abilities are, they can make a better determination on what programs might be appropriate for that person. We're also doing ServSafe training at all of our facilities. We started doing this at the recommendation of some of the wardens and majors. They wanted their kitchen workers to receive this ServSafe training. It's a certificate that any restaurant or kitchen worker, there has to be at least one person that has that certification if they're working in any sort of a kitchen. And so far, we've done over 400 of those across the whole, all the DOC facilities. I guess we're not doing an ACC yet, but we may start. We've also started our commercial and residential roofing class. The instructor will get his final training next week, and that way he can be an NCCER instructor and officially start class, but he is there and they have a few students. Barbering has finally started at the Grimes unit, started last week. We just have 5 students right now. The Mr. Bissett, the Secretary of Licensing and Laboring, he has not been there yet to do his final tour, but they'll be coming pretty quickly. We're trying to work out a date for that, but we have 5 students trying to get some more. The big hang up on that is getting Social Security cards. That has to be submitted as part of the application process. Manufacturing skills at the North Central unit, we have our forklift simulator in. We are working on getting it wired so we can hook up the thin clients for ICEV and Tooling U. The instructor is getting trained in Tooling U and has been visiting with some people from Ozarka, that's a local community college, learning about the Tooling U program because they're doing something similar. Ours is going to be a longer program than what they do in community college, but he's learning from them. And we have our forestry simulator modules that go along with heavy equipment. We're working on a add-on certificate to the heavy equipment operator program, like 150 hours. It'll work with ICEV to get some theory training, and then we'll do 2 modules of heavy equipment. It's a feller buncher is one of the pieces of equipment, and the other is a log loader. So that's up and running. And then tomorrow is CTE Day at the Capitol, so we'll be set up there along with representative schools from across the state. They usually have like one district to represent different categories of career technical education. There'll be one school representing FFA, one school representing family and consumer sciences, one representing medical. But we were asked to come back again this year, and so we have a slideshow and some handouts and some information about our district. And that starts, set up this tomorrow at 9:30.
What time y'all be there?
I will be there by 9:30, and we'll be there until noon.
Okay, anyone that has any questions?
Yes, sir. At the claimed education level, when they come in, you say that you rat test everybody now, the claimed education level, are you able to verify those? What kind of percentage are you having on being able to verify those who say they have a high school diploma or don't have a high school diploma or whatever?
Well, the way it works now is part of the intake process, the counselor actually asks them, the verification letter that you're familiar with was sent out. It's actually on the computer. They fill it out at intake. It emails straight to Andre in our office that day. We mail them out. We're getting, most everybody that claims to be to have a diploma has a diploma these days.
But if they do have a diploma and say they don't have a diploma, then they just slip through the cracks? Is that, I mean, there's no way to verify that, right?
No.
Okay.
My favorite part of that forklift simulator is it's VR, the doodads, guys are getting motion sick on a forklift simulator. So we may have to get some air sick bags to go with it.
Any other question, board?
Go fast.
Okay, Ms. Sherry?
Yes, sir.
You need to make sure you prove that at rat test meeting.
Oh, you want a rat test?
Wide range achievement test.
It's WRAT.
WRAT, what it is, everybody knows me. I just think.
Wide range achievement test.
Okay.
Okay, we good. Okay, if not, we're ready for the request for approval of the new organization chart.
Yes, sir. You remember the last board meeting you voted to move the Director of Finance under Mark. And so we have asked for approval for a new organizational chart that will reflect that change.
Any questions on that report? We already discussed it. and we make that recommendation. You don't got a question about it. Everybody understand what we're doing? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second? Been moved and properly second. Are there any questions? All in favor, let me know by saying, come on, Benny. Come on, Benny. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Request for approval for private audit.
Yes, so there's a little history here. Pre-Transformation Act, as a school district, we had a private audit, like schools are audited. Transformation Act brought us our audit under the ADC audit. It's not a very good audit. The first year, they tried to audit us like a state agency. That didn't work very well, and now there's not much on ours, and actually, as a school district, we're required to have a school district audit. So we've checked, and the private auditor that used to do our audits can take us back. So we're asking for approval to go back to really what's required by law as a school district to have a school district audit.
Any questions? Any comment? Okay. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Second. I get a motion that's been moved and double second. Ready to get out of here. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Request, approval for more Victoria Harmon, from CT, move Victoria Harmon from CTE to, academic teacher, academic teacher.
Ms. Harmon was a career tech instructor at McPherson. She is a licensed teacher.
Because we need a barber there.
We missed it. The barber program is working.
Y'all just did that to me because I was out of the room.
I'm trying to hurry. The board was delaying on me.
Hey, you should have left 6 months ago.
Okay.
Run bill out there as soon as I got out of the room.
Well, to go back farther, the principal at Grimes retired. So we interviewed, and a teacher at McPherson actually they call them building level administrators now. A teacher from McPherson was promoted, y'all did that last month, promoted to the principal at Grimes. This gets like musical chairs, which left a teacher opening at McPherson. So Ms. Harmon, who is a licensed teacher with a master's degree, stepped into the academic instructor's role, and you approved hiring Mr. Harden to be the career tech instructor spot left by Ms. Harmon. I couldn't say that again, so y'all need to approve it.
Board said it makes sense.
Yes. It does.
And the board don't got any question on that one?
Request to be approved.
Been moved. Been moved and second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Page 161, request approval for hire Gary Hart.
Okay, I just lied because I thought we'd already hired him. This is the request to hire Mr. Harden to fill that spot that I just tried to explain a minute ago.
If you got them
Got it.
minutes.
Yes, sir.
I move the approval.
Second.
Moving and second, all in favor, let me know by saying aye. Okay, any, district staff?
Okay, in your packet on, I forget what page? 162. I did a little analysis on the cost per student. It came up about cost per student. Somebody suggested we were very high. I knew that couldn't be true. And so, trying to decide our enrollment is a moving target. You know, our enrollment goes up and down every day. So the way I did this was average the body count from November to December to get an average daily actual people in seats. If that makes sense. And then I took not our budget, but our expenditures for last year and divided that. We had 53 classroom teachers and 24 CTE teachers. But I divided the number of students counting CTE by our actual expenditures last year and came up with $6,800 per student. And then I Googled around, and the state foundation funding for public school, other public schools, was $7,300. And that's the basic that the state gives a district per student. But the actual expenditures, you can see, is about $11,600. Because over and above the foundation money, you get money for transportation, for food service, buildings that we don't do. We should be the cheapest because we don't do transportation, food service, all those things. So after that, you can see I kind of looked at our staff. It's interesting that 62% of our staff has a master's degree. We have an average of 21 years experience. Got 24 CT instructors, 11 principals, 9 central office support staff. And then I looked at the state, 37% of the state's teachers have a master's degree, best I could find. 10 and 2/3 years experience. 67% of them are licensed, which means 33% of them are not licensed teachers. I knew there was a lot of that going on. I did not know there was that much. But there are 32,800 and some odd teachers in the state. All of ours are licensed. So I said all that to say we have very qualified staff. More experienced than normal, more education than normal, and that's just an information thing.
And it generally costs less to educate them here than in public school.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, now we gonna say bye to you all and go back to the Department of Corrections and Community Employment. The chairman want me to close it out too, right? I don't know, y'all wanna stay here until you get back? Y'all, can I got a motion that we're adjourned? We're adjourned, thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry, we'll check in a minute.